Hi, what's that? Oh, am I distracted? Am I a minute or two late? Yeah, I am. This is a challenging time, folks. Give me 2 seconds to do something here. All right. So, welcome to the weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. Is that high enough energy? Let me take a sip of coffee here. This is a live show where we are going to talk about the latest comic books and comic book news. That's going to be the fun part. Most of this is going to be an absolute blast. It's going to be an absolute blast. And if I seem slightly off, it is because our basement level flooded, which is normally where I do my show from. It's where I edit comic tropes from. And I have had to quickly recover the best that I can, and I've obviously set myself up here in my blue room, I call it, where I record comic tropes. Now I will do everything here. That's fine. I'll talk more about all that personal stuff towards the end. We'll have a cool down period where I draw, but we are going to have fun tonight. We are going to get through some interesting comic book news. We are going to review some really terrific comic books that came out this week. Quite a bit to say about that stuff. I did pin a comment for the live show where if you're in a position, you can donate a tip because we are dealing, my wife and I, with some insanely costly repairs, but no obligation, and don't put yourself out. That would put you in just as bad a position as me. So yeah, I don't want anything like that. So why don't we start with something I've been doing lately? We are going to start with the late night monologue. And I don't have any sort of fancy intro like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, monologue. Okay, just some quick stuff. Let's lighten the tone. Let's set the mood here. Pretend this is a late night talk show that just goes for 3 hours and is all about comic books. All right, folks. So this is some pretty big news that I wanted to talk about. You probably saw this. Chuck Norris passed away this week. And I'm not sure if you all know this, but he actually was a comic book character. He had a comic book that was drawn by Steve Ditko. So yeah, that's how it's related. But unfortunately, Chuck Norris did pass away. And the next day, influencer Logan Paul said that he was happy to challenge Chuck Norris to a boxing match. Let's cue this. Oh, lovely. There we go. There we go. What else? Oh, don't know if you saw this, but Absolute Batman, this is kind of impressive. Absolute Batman is selling as many as 300,000 copies a month. DC is obviously very proud to share that number. I don't blame them. Now, Marvel Comics doesn't want to be outdone. They released their own statement in response. They said, hey, if comics fans like the number 300,000 so much, we're happy to cancel 300,000 X-Men comics at issue 5. Cue the laugh track there. Or we'll just continue. Let's do that. Last one. Finally, let me get this one out. Boom Studios said that they actually plan, this is true, they actually plan to do more direct-to-consumer comic books like Kickstarter projects. It's interesting, right? I think that could be cool. Their most popular crowdfunding tier right now is, of course, variant covers. But for just $20 more, they'll upgrade the comic to have actual staples. Yes. All right. There we go. That one got a laugh. That's good enough. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much. Layman Oz, huh? Sorry for your water problems. That's very, very kind of you. Thanks for all the great shows. Good luck. I appreciate it, but we are here to have fun, and fun is what we will have legally. I mandate that we will have fun. Sorry about how this is a little disorganized back here, but you can probably imagine when you go through a flood, you kind of scramble. So let's keep going, though. I've got plenty of show. No question that there is plenty of show. What we're going to do next, let's do the news of the week.
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Hi guys, this is April O'Neil from Channel 6 News, and I am here in beautiful New York City.
If we see our comic books represented in live action form, that means that we are creatively fulfilled. We are justified in our love of this hobby. Let me tilt this a little to make me a little more centered. Yeah, this is a professional show. I will pay my producers $10 an hour more because they're doing such a good job. All right, look at that clever little whipped together thumbnail. We will talk about Sam Kieth in a little bit, but we've got some interesting stuff. We've got all sorts of interesting stuff. I think I wanted to start with some Marvel TV news, actually. I didn't know about any of this, but actor Matthew Lillard is going to be in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. I like Matthew Lillard. I think he's on a bit of a creative high ever since Quentin Tarantino badmouthed him. People are like, I like Matthew Lillard. Why would you badmouth Lillard? He's been in lots of interesting stuff, from Twin Peaks to Scream to, a million other things. He's good. He's really fun. Scooby-Doo. He was a great voice for Shaggy. So yeah, he's joining the show in season 2, which starts in, 2 days now? 1 day? 1 day. Starts tomorrow. Character known as Mr. Charles. And so we talked about that a little bit to Entertainment Weekly. I don't know of a Mr. Charles in the comics. If anybody knows if that's supposed to be an analog or maybe a code name for a real character in the comics, let me know. I never really heard about that, but yeah. Oh yeah, SLC, Salt Lake City punk, hackers. Yeah, supporter of the LGBT. Good for him. Good for him. I always heard the bridge was good. Yeah. Thank you for the support. That's really appreciated now more than ever. Your videos have been the soundtrack, and thank you, Jack the cat, for jumping in. Have been the soundtrack to some of the tougher parts of my life. Wow. The least I can do is chip in during one of yours. It will be used because insurance is not covering everything that we need to do or everything we lost. I will talk about it. Hey, Dave, nice to have you here. And I think I saw a bunch of other, not just regulars, but real life friends that I've got. I'm pretty sure I saw my buddy Mike in here, and I'm pretty sure I saw my buddy Randy. Anyway, nice to have everybody here. It helps. Let me get back to this Daredevil news real quick. So Lillard said, quote, he is somebody who bends the ear of the very powerful people around the world. So he's not really interested in Gotham politics. He means New York politics there. That's a name. That's where Gotham City got its name. People used to refer to New York as Gotham. Anyway, he's interested in world politics. So when he's dealing and trifling with someone like Kingpin, he's not that impressed. That's all I can say, you know? There's this Cheshire Cat sort of energy about him. I like the idea of that. No, I have not found that. So that makes me think that it is upstairs, actually, in a box. But we will find it. Sorry, somebody said put up the ticker. I did forget. I'm a little burrito brained tonight. Quite army. Let's see. EW also talked to the showrunner of the show, Dario Scardapane. They asked, hey, why'd you bring back Jessica Jones but not the other Defenders? Luke Cage, Iron Fist. It's short and sweet, but he does have some good logic here. Quote, when you've got 8 episodes per season, you run out of real estate really fast in terms of all the different people we would love to do stories with. And both Sana, what's her last name? But Sana is one of the producers on the show, also a comic book writer. Sana and I are diehard Jessica Jones fans from way back. That does make sense. It's not a movie where you can say, we've built an army to go after Kingpin. It is a TV show. That does 8 episodes. I'll give them that. I really will. And there have been some early reactions that say season 2 is way more focused because one, you may remember, had some reshoots and stuff. So there was a little bit of crazy different energies. I liked season 1 quite a bit personally. The first episode was kind of weird, but then it was pretty good. Anyway, they say season 2 is going to be better. Meanwhile, kind of related, Elodie Young, who played Elektra, and Finn Jones, who played Iron Fist, both posted to Instagram this week intense workout photos. Finn Jones specifically is working out at a gym in New York where they filmed Daredevil. So it's fueled a lot of speculation from fans that in season 3 we'll be getting more Defenders characters. I would think that makes sense. You know, you got Punisher, you got Jessica Jones, open the floodgates, put them all in there. Like, we've already established this is the same continuity and everything. Bring them back. And I think Finn Jones is a good enough actor. I think that the only problem with really season 1 of Iron Fist was that they shot that thing super, super fast and had no time to choreograph much of anything. I'm sure that he's capable of doing something good. We'll see. By the way, not everybody can get this, but there's going to be a Daredevil Born Again comic based on this show. It's only available at Blaze Pizza. So if you live near, downtown Disney in Anaheim, or one of those other rare places where there's one of 7 Blaze Pizza locations, maybe you can get this Daredevil Born Again comic. I thought he was fine. I definitely think the standout was Jessica Hennick as Colleen Wing. I think everybody would agree. She was incredible. But I think Finn Jones had the right energy for Danny Rand. They did need better martial arts, which you can do on TV, but they rushed that first season. Anyway. One last thing. This just came in just before I did the show. But earlier today, Marvel announced they're going to make a second season of Wonder Man. That is so impressive to me that I want to talk about that for just a minute, because Marvel did very little promotion for Wonder Man. And people were like, oh, maybe it's not good. It came out, and I think the critical and fan response has been, this is a great show. It's just good television. It's good character work. Is it a little different than what we expected? Probably, but it was still it was just damn good TV. To get a second season of that, first of all, that makes me happy because it was a good show. The actors on it were fantastic. It also makes me a little more hopeful for this 4th Spider-Man movie because director, Daniel Destin Cretton. I always mix the order of his 3 names around, but I think Cretton is his last name. I loved Shang-Chi. I think it was one of the best Marvel movies of that phase. I'm stunned that they haven't rushed a sequel to Shang-Chi out because Shang-Chi was a darn good movie. Then he oversaw this show, and the show was great. Now he's directing Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, I feel like he sort of gets Marvel. I'm encouraged. Yeah, I agree with this. Like when they get somebody that's made sort of like 1 or 2 really good things, Marvel loves to say like, yes, you're our guy. And I think if I'm right, isn't Cretton going to do some sort of Avengers movie at some point? I don't know. I forget. Oh my goodness. You know what? I just realized I didn't include one of the biggest news stories of the week, which I meant to. Let me think of how to do this. Right? Wasn't Shang-Chi quite strong just in and of itself? I don't know. I thought Shang-Chi was very, very good. And it blows my mind that they haven't rushed a second one out. They did, but this week, Marvel did announce dates in the future for movie releases, but they didn't say which projects. I honestly do think Shang-Chi is likely to be one of those 3 movies. Let me do one thing real quick because there's a piece of news I really wanted to talk about. And I just realized because I've got so much going on, I literally forgot to share it. I'm going to add something. I think I'm going to pull up a website real quick, folks. This is news. This is news I really thought was cool. Yeah, this. We'll go to Hollywood Reporter. And Powers by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming is technically coming back as a TV show. Thanks for the ad. It was on the Sony PlayStation Network for a 2-season show. Interesting story, but not what we're here for. It's going to be animated for Netflix, and I think animation would be a great way to go. If you haven't read it, Powers is a rock solid comic. Was there a new issue this week? Yes. It's come back for its 25th anniversary. If you haven't read it, it's a cop procedural murder mystery, but it's set within a world with superheroes and supervillains. So the police are dealing with superpowered crimes. It's a great blend of two things. But you do get like a central mystery. And I'm sorry, but I think Bendis is great at mysteries, at laying them out. I think Oeming has a unique, really great visual style that I think animation will be way, way better than live action. But, we're going to probably have witty dialogue. We're going to have good murder mystery stuff, and we're going to have a unique look. But yeah, PlayStation Network. You may remember this was like a year or so after Walking Dead came out, and definitely studios were looking to develop indie comics, creator-owned comics into a TV show. PlayStation Network, that was specifically on the PlayStation. It was like a really early example of streaming, but it was way too specific. They never really made any other shows, so people didn't have a reason to subscribe or anything. Is there anything else that they talk about? Just that Torso is also being developed. We already talked about that in the news before. Torso is interesting. It's about the later years of real-life detective. All of a sudden I'm blanking. Untouchables goes after Al Capone, and Kevin Costner played this famous detective, and I'm got all the elements, but I'm forgetting. That real-life detective in his later years had a second super famous case. Elliot Ness, thank you, everybody. Yeah, Elliot Ness. Torso is the story about, him solving a murder mystery in his later years. And that was one of Bendis's early books that really got him noticed. All right, I'm going to close this because there's all these annoying pop-up ads and stuff. That's why I generally like to do my document as compared to pulling up a website. I don't love showing all of that. 2 seasons, technically 2 seasons, and it starred Sharlto Copley, the guy from District 9 and a bunch of other stuff. He was in A-Team as Howling Mad Murdoch, a South African actor. Really interesting actor, actually, but I'm not sure he was completely right for Christian Walker. I think he was playing Christian Walker, if I'm remembering. So anyway, this is really appreciated. Sorry about the basement woes. Amazing that you're doing a show tonight. Life continues, right? And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Even if I only get like 1 or 2, $5, $2 or $10 super chats right now, Chrissy and I could really use it because we're definitely going into a lot of debt on this one. But I won't linger on that because I don't want to depress Chrissy if she's watching. Love me some Sharlto. Yeah, he's good. He is good. But I'm excited about the idea of Powers with Mike Oeming's art. I think that sounds really, really cool. Let me bring back up my document. Thank you, whoever first mentioned it in the chat. That was definitely one of the things I wanted as a centerpiece for the news this week. And all of a sudden, boom, burrito brain slipped my mind. Share screen, bringing that back up. All right, next up, we'll go to some DC news. Look at these. These are covers based very literally on what Nick Dragotta did as designs for some absolute Batman villains. I love these designs. I've got a lot to say about them, actually. Oh, Mike, you're incredible. Thank you, buddy. Bandwagoning the super chats for your soggy bottom recovery. Thank you, Mike. Mike's an amazing artist, by the way. If you guys don't all know, but he's incredible. He's just like one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I miss seeing you, man. We've known each other a very long time now. But yeah, the days where we would see each other at Chicago Comic-Con, a long time ago. Oh, EJ has an interesting point about like what I was just talking about here with Shang-Chi. He said that China rejected it. A movie made for them might have something to do with Marvel not rushing to get another made. Yeah, but I do appreciate that Marvel has not bowed to to China with their movies. They were like, yeah, we'll show Spider-Man 3, just get rid of the Statue of Liberty. And Marvel was like, no, you know what? That's a ton of money, but we're going to do the movie we want to do. I kind of respect that, especially in such a, businessy environment. But that is a great point, DJ. They might be thinking, how can we make something that satisfies everyone? And that's fair. Look at this. Oh, love everything you do, Chris. Hope the hard times pass. They will. They will. I think we're looking at a few months of repairs, and there's definitely stuff that we lost that we are not going to get reimbursed for, and that's just how it is, including a lot of comics. I will go into that at the end of the show, folks. But let me talk. Thank you for the super chats, guys, because I want to talk a little bit about this. What did I just knock over? Oh, just a Dr. Doom mask. It's only $100. Whatever. When you're dealing with tens of thousands of dollars, who cares? No, it didn't break. I'm just being sarcastic. So, absolute Batman stuff. First of all, this past weekend was MegaCon, and Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta, Nick, shared some sketches for upcoming characters, including the two that I'm showing you here for Two-Face and Penguin. Kind of obvious, but there's some stuff I want to say about it. What is Wet Day? Thank you, Chuck. Chuck's a real life friend. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. That it sincerely helps. It sincerely helps. What is Wet Day? You can tell me, but I'm going to go back to this. So Nick said that when he was creating Two-Face here, he had sort of two ideas with it. He was really influenced by the design from Batman the Animated Series in the early 90s. And I can see that, and by the way, I think that the black and white color scheme is so much better than when they try to do one side all crazy, like in the Batman Forever movie with Tommy Lee Jones, like all sorts of wild leopard print patterns. No, black and white. It works. Hold on, let me acknowledge this. Thank you. Just want to support. You are. Really appreciate the time and care you put into your content. Now that I'm moved up here, I can edit and finish the next episode. It's going to be one on Comic Tropes about Wolverine. I'll talk about that later. Anyway, the second thing he said, and I love this idea, is that his Two-Face would have this long hair that he lets sort of like he parts with like a middle part that can cover his face. And then depending on how he feels, he'll like pull the hair to like, reveal like the good side of his face, or pull to like reveal the bad side. I know it seems simple, but there's also only so much you can do with the, what Two-Face is. I think it's a great idea. If you look it up, there are more sketch ideas showing how Two-Face will style his hair in different ways to sort of reveal which side he's using. And I think that's such a simple but cool idea, to let the hair sort of cover a bunch of one side or the other. And then Penguin, had all of his bones broken. So now he's walking around on crutches, but they gave him crutches that are also either razor blades or machine guns. I'm like, it's cooler than an umbrella. It's cooler, and he's really scary. This one specifically for Penguin, that is just one of his initial design sketches, and Dragotta said he liked it so much he was just like, no changes. I'm turning that one into a cover. And I was like, yeah, when you nail it, you should know that you nailed it. But I like that he also sort of wears gaudy jewelry around his neck and stuff. It's a very interesting take. It's very interesting. Also, they announced that there's going to be some sort of an absolute crossover that's happening in November. No more details on that. We've had a few light crossover things, but I think that they might mean like that involves all the ongoing titles. Could be interesting. On his Substack, folks, Scott Snyder revealed Absolute Batman has steadily risen in copies from the beginning. It's now selling about 300,000 copies an issue. And if it was just the latest issue that came out last week or whatever, I'd go, okay, it's a fluke. It's a variant, or it's a blind bag or something like that. Now, it's been about 300,000 since issue 14. So about 5 months straight, it's been selling consistently around 300,000 copies after trending upwards. Very high. I'm encouraged by that. That sounds to me like it was organic growth, and people are sticking around because they're enjoying it. They're getting the reprints and getting caught up. And so they've had a lot of really strong organic growth. Is there some speculation in there? No question there is. Is it as much as like 50-50? I really don't think so. I don't think it would go this high and sustain at that level if it was all speculation. I don't know what percentage could be fueled by speculators. Hopefully, for all of us, it's relatively low because we don't want them to disappear and deflate the industry. But that's a really strong number. I saw an interesting bit of speculation. I will acknowledge these super chats in a minute. Let me finish my thought real quick. They said Absolute Batman may have come out at the right time where a bunch of kids that grew up reading comics from like Raina Telgemeier or Dave Pilkey, Dogman and stuff like that, they may have been older and ready to jump onto something more adult. So they try, like Batman is known, but this is like, a number one issue that's very clearly starting from the beginning. I think that there could be something to that, which you could probably do almost at any time. But a new issue number one is one thing. Starting a story from the beginning is very different. I suspect as long as the creative team is stable, that these numbers could continue. I suspect that when we get to the point where some of the creative teams start changing up and it starts to feel closer to the regular comics, that will dip some. That's just my speculation. Hard to say for sure. Let me acknowledge this. Thank you, Murky Waters. That is a darn appropriate screen name for today. A little something for Flood Fund. Thanks for all the awesome content. Thank you. Thank you. Every little bit helps, but that's a lot. Thank you very, very much for your kindness. Baja blasting off the week, my dudes. Steve, thank you for always being here. This week, instead of putting that towards a soda, that is definitely going in the repair fund. That is definitely going towards, paying my deductible and repairing stuff that's not there. I think that, there's a chance for something like that because Snyder has said that he roughly got about 60 or so issues in mind to do with Dragotta. But I think when you're doing this well, it's a good idea to stick with it and ride it out and let yourself be challenged to come up with, stories at that same level. It's a challenge, but I think it's really cool. Yeah, he doesn't have the old money aspect, and I think that that's sort of like wearing that jewelry. Like the Penguin we know in regular DC continuity wouldn't do that. He might wear a ring, right? He wouldn't wear lots of chains. That's a little bit of the personality difference. Thank you. Sorry about the flooding, my dude. That's never fun. No, it isn't. Sorry I'm late. I was lesson planning. Good for you. I know you're teaching a lot now. Let's see. Almost done, troopers. Giving some more to the flood fund. It's appreciated. It's appreciated. A lot. Snyder also said, that there's going to be the longest story arc they've done yet, a 7-issue story arc starting next month with issue 19 when Scarecrow debuts. Whatever that overall story is going to continue all the way to issue 25. That'll be sort of the climax, the finale of their 7-issue story. And Batman is going to physically meet Joker, or as he's known in this world, Grim, in issue 19. I predict that could be very, very popular, but that's an easy prediction to make, isn't it? Sorry a bit late to join your Patreon. Heroes Unite. Sorry to hear that you got an unwanted indoor pool. That is such an accurate way of putting it. Yeah, it's an interesting mildewy smell down there now. Repairs basically begin tomorrow, but we are coordinating with like 3 companies and the insurance. It's a headache. Let me focus on the fun stuff, the comics. It's kind of fun to see my set from like sitting back here. I usually sit back there. It's interesting. Dr. Shubil, you're so nice. The Tropes family loves you. I feel it. You guys are awesome. I love doing the show with all of you. Take some of this money and drink some sugar-free blast. Okay. Remember, the troopers are always behind you. Troopers are rallying now. You guys have. That very, very kind of you. Thank you. What else did I have? I had another DC bit, didn't I? Yes. DC formally announced 3 Elseworlds books for this summer. We already talked about one a couple weeks ago. Remember, Kenny Porter and Danny Earls were on. They talked about Superman, Father of Tomorrow, with the Elseworlds idea. What if Jor-El, for some reason, instead of Kal-El, came to Earth? And, he's a scientist, so sure, he's got the superpowers, but his biggest difference from Clark is that he's an adult who's a scientist, so he would be using his scientific mind to better the world. I love that idea. I can't wait to see what they do with it. And the pages I've seen from Danny are just mind-blowing. Hey, thank you so much, Will Courtney Oliver. 3 names. All right. Thank you. But there's also this one. I showed the cover here. Supergirl Survive. Written by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan. Art and covers by Rod Reese. Rod Reese is a great artist. Really, really good. Launches June 3rd. And the premise there is that Kara and Kal-El are ejected on the same rocket. And remember, when they left Krypton, Supergirl was older. Because of being in suspended animation, Clark got to Earth first and grew up, and Supergirl's younger. But on Krypton, she was a little older. So in this, she's, a teenager that's got to protect her cousin. And the rocket doesn't go straight to Earth. It goes across the galaxy, and they get hunted and stuff. It's an interesting idea, especially, with, Supergirl, the movie coming out. I can understand why DC would want to do another big Supergirl project. Unrelated note, was a teaching assistant for 9 years. This is my first teaching year on my own. I can't believe this school year is almost over. Wowzer. It does go by fast when you're an adult. I'll consider it, to be honest. I'll consider it, but I haven't decided yet. What we're probably going to do, I'll talk about this a little. We're probably going to just have to refinance our house and get a home equity line of credit, probably, to fix everything and repair everything. That's probably what we're going to have to do. So you pay off the house for a few more years. I like that. That would have been a better subtitle. Like, Survival's great, but how about Supergirl, Teen Mom? Teen Mom. Rod is really, really good. Rod is good. And then the third one, there's not as many details, but they said that they're going to return to a popular alternate universe that they've done before, Dark Knights of Steel 2. I never read Dark Knights of Steel, or was it just Dark Knights? I don't know. That comes out in July. From Tom Taylor, who I like as a writer. Artist Otto Schmidt, gorgeous art, some problematic history. But maybe he's past that. That was like going back many, many, many years. But he did some really weird art for when he was like in Russia for like, you know what? It's so inappropriate. I really don't even want to talk about it. You can look it up. Great artist, did some really weird stuff back in the day. Oh, yeah, people are like saying hello. I see to my buddy West Coast Dave Enders. You should know he did an interview with Brett Bean. Dork is obviously a huge book right now, and he did an interview with Brett Bean. So you might want to go over to Direct Edition and check that out. Wow, the super chats are more than I expected tonight, folks. I promise I want to keep the show moving, but I also want to acknowledge this kindness. Sorry about your basement. You're super cool. Questionable. I don't like seeing one of my favorite content creators going through it. You bring my friends and me joy every Monday. Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words and the super chat. The kind words are also very, very appreciated. Joey McKay says every Monday, my girlfriend and her brother and myself. Wow. Watch this. It's become our weekly ritual. Well, hello all. Thank you. This is cool. Hearing two people in a row say that they watch it in, a social gathering. That's amazing. You had your basement flood too. Yeah. I've gone through a flood before, but it was back in the 90s in New Orleans. This one was worse. And Chichi. What's that? Like dad? HJ3MG. Thanks for the stream and positivity. This stream is making up for a crappy day. Good. If I can make anybody happy, it's making me happy. It's making me happy. So I'm going to keep going. Or am I? Students sat with me for lunch today. One student introduced me as the GOAT because I talked comic and manga and talked about Steel Ball Run. That's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for those that don't know. I'm going to do something about the art by Araki at some point very soon. This is tangential to DC. It started at Vertigo back in the day. Plot Point One Productions, I don't know them, but they announced this week that the comic book Saucer Country is going to be adapted into a premium television drama. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about this. The series is based on a comic that originally was through Vertigo at DC back in 2012. Writer Paul Cornell, if I go back many years, I did interview him on my old podcast that was about TV because Paul wrote Doctor Who stuff. Great guy, really, really nice. Really like a nerd in the best possible meaning of it. That's also like really good about structure and character arcs and stuff like that. Anyway, he did this with Ryan Kelly as the artist. There's Kevin Street saying, I love Saucer Country. I haven't read it, but I should because I do like Cornell generally. Let's see. Clearly, troopers are rallying. I appreciate that. Anyway, the comic, if you haven't read it, follows Arcadia Alvarado, the governor of New Mexico, who's abducted by aliens on the eve of her presidential bid. And then the story focuses on her using her political power to try to uncover what happened to her. It definitely becomes a bit of an X-Files government conspiracy thing with alien stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like that premise is what I'm saying. Ran 14 issues at Vertigo. Then they did a 6-issue sequel series at IDW. Finally, a definitive edition that was collected at Image. All of those were because of editor Chris Ryall. I don't know exactly how to pronounce Chris's last name, but he was the one championing that series for sure. Sigma Comics. Let's see. You're a wonderful fixture in our beloved industry. Thank you for your hard work on these great shows. My pleasure. Thank you. Gotta read the finished trade. I know it's out. There is a collected edition. Absolutely, there is. This is the UFO book I read. It was crazy and wonderful at its peak. The break between story arcs was too long. Yeah. Well, I think that was just, a matter of finding the publisher that was ready to support them. But yeah, I'm sure a lot more attention will come to it if this show happens. Hey, that's right, Andy. You're a New Mexico resident. Love to see the state depicted in comics. That'd be a fun topic sometime to talk about, like a comic book story that represents your home state. Trying to think, The first thing I think of, I'm trying to think of like Massachusetts. There was a Wonder Woman run when I think William Mester Loebs was writing it, and Diana was in Boston. There was also in the 90s, the Midnight Suns banner of Marvel, Night Stalkers. That was Blade, Hannibal King, and Frank Drake. They were operating out of Boston. Anyway, two Massachusetts comics. All right, let me keep going. Let's talk about this. I've got plenty to say. Sam Kieth passed away, and I'm sure a lot of you, if you're into comics, have already seen this. But yeah, he was a writer, he was an artist, he was a publisher. Sam Kieth passed away last Sunday, not this past one, but the last one, March 15th. But we found out about it this past week. Only 63 years old. Way too young, in my opinion. And I've just got like sort of a smattering of his different stuff that he did. Everybody knows Max. Most people know about Sandman. But, and of course, you know, he did a lot for Marvel Comics Presents, but he did a great Alien story for Dark Horse. Zero Girl is more of his, like, you know, modern creator-owned stuff. This Freddy Krueger illustration was published on, like, the back as a pinup. It was published on the back of, I think it was a Marvel comic. And it was going to lead to an ongoing book, but he was just like, no, I can't go at a monthly pace on a Freddy book. But it got a book going. Yeah, 63. I know to plenty of people, 63 sounds old, but once you're more than halfway there, it definitely doesn't sound that old. I wish he had way more years. What a night. What a unique artist, right? I mean, Sam Kieth is somebody that when you see that art, maybe you see some of the influences, like maybe a Bernie Wrightson, but it is Sam Kieth's art, you know? Buy some stilts for your comics. Fortunately, just to be clear, I didn't say I lost my entire collection or anything close to that. A lot of my comics were raised up. A lot of the more modern stuff that I was reviewing for the show, admittedly, I stacked or put in box, like cardboard box on the ground. So fortunately, a lot of the important stuff was raised, but yeah, I did lose a lot. Oh, Jimmy, nice to see you, Jimmy Jams. One of the best to do it. One of my all-time faves. A true visionary and a real sweet dude. You know, I've never talked to you, but I once he passed away, I definitely thought about you, Jim, and I was going like, you know, Jim's definitely a little more street art, but I bet you anything he was influenced on some level by Sam Kieth. I mean, because Sam Kieth didn't try to keep to a house style at all. It wasn't like totally crazy and indie. I mean, that's why he was able to do Wolverine and Sandman and stuff. But it was so unique. It was so unique. And I'll tell you something else real quick, because it's all about Sam Kieth. But the Max, when that was turned into a cartoon on MTV, the animation's maybe somewhat limited, especially by today's standards. But it was cool. That was legit cool to see. At the time, I would call like early image stuff, I would call that indie. I'm not sure if I would today, but I would definitely call it indie at the time. And it was so cool to see it represented on MTV, which was still very, very popular. And it was just a cool representation for the mainstream. You know, it was really, really cool. That was shortly after MTV had done Liquid Television, where we got to see Peter Chung work on Aeon Flux. So cool. So cool. Some of his early work, I've got an episode about him, by the way, not to toot my own horn, but in case you want to know more, I do have an episode about Sam Kieth on Comic Tropes. But some of his earliest work was inking. He inked The Mage for Matt Wagner, among other inking jobs. He was the first artist hired onto Sandman. So Karen Berger saw something in him. She was good at spotting talent, by the way. She was so good. That's what Vertigo was at the time. She was a tastemaker, but boy, she had a good vision. And of course, he created the Max at Image. And that was a big deal because, yeah, we'd gotten like 7 guys that founded Image, and that's cool and all. But when the first wave of people they invited to be on their label, they weren't founders of Image, but they were invited. You know, you got Dale Keown, What was you got? Of course, Sam Kieth, and I'm blanking all of a sudden. Did Mike Grell do something with them? All of a sudden, I'm blanking. But there were like 3 books initially that came to Image, and it was really, really exciting to see these artists join them. And you were like, oh, Image is going to be a little bit more than just these people doing their own books. It was a little bit more. That's it. Shaman's Tears. I did have it in my head. Thank you. A drip to add to the flood fund. It helps. I'm serious. It helps. Thank you so much, Chillin' with Martin. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yep. Trencher wasn't too much longer after that. Yep. Astro City. But the Max has been collected, but I don't think it's been in print lately. It's not that far back. I think IDW collected it last, if I remember right. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam's Widow does a reprint, especially with the public being aware of him right now. But the reason he passed is that he's been dealing with Lewy body dementia. That is a tough disease. I read about it, and it combines traditional dementia that we think of, so something like Alzheimer's, along with basically Parkinson's. So you are losing control of both your motor functions and your mental functions simultaneously. Obviously, the body just can't compensate and adapt to such rigorous stuff. So it's a pretty tough disease to go through. It's really, really tough. I'm sure it was tough for his wife too. His art in Alien Comics is incredibly mesmerizing. I really agree. I think that's among the more underrated and lesser known stuff that he's probably done, because I think his stuff is pretty popular, pretty well known. Yeah, he was good. He's an influential artist. I would argue that if you don't know him, what he did unique is that he combined really dynamic, exaggerated anatomy with, he liked to write a lot of his own stuff or co-write, and his stuff played with like surreal environments or surreal dreamlike landscapes. I love that. If you enjoy the TV and films of David Lynch, who uses sort of dream logic, I would say Sam Kieth leans into plenty of dream logic. Not with every project, but with plenty of them. Yeah. Obviously, Sandman does, so that was a good fit. Max certainly does. But there are dreamlike aspects, even to something like Zero Girl or Alien, either in the imagery or in the story. I love a combination of beautiful and ugly. They say that the absolute best perfumes, the most expensive perfumes out there, don't just add scents that are all pleasing to the palate. They'll add like a tiny bit of something that's not good, and it creates this contrast. So sometimes some of the best artists will lean into a bit of something that could be considered ugly in and of itself, but it creates this contrast and makes you appreciate something else. So I think that Sam Kieth was one of the unique artists that could find something like that. Just my argument. Yeah. So yeah, he's survived by his wife of 43 years, Kathy. And you can look at the numbers there, and Kathy was older than him, or is. That's always weird, but they were together their entire lives. So that's amazing. Yes, Epicurus the Sage is definitely a really cool one. He did something else with William Messner Loebs. What am I forgetting? William Messner Loebs had this character that's like a guy that's out in the wilderness, a Grizzly Adams type, and it's all of a sudden not coming to me. But I think Sam Kieth did a little bit with him there, right? It's not coming to me, darn it. Journey. Thank you. You're on it, Wannington. You're on it with the Sam Kieth stuff. Wally Gropius has a good point. This happened much more recently, so I didn't have time to make a news item about it. But if we're talking about great artists that have passed. Probably less people know about this one, but at least here, not necessarily in my audience. European comics artist Herman. Technically Herman Huppen, but to the world at large, he was just known as like Herman. Belgian artist. Got his start doing books in like the Tintin magazine, for instance. Over here in America, the thing that people would know best is that he created a post-apocalyptic sci-fi story called Jeremiah, which was loosely adapted into a live-action American TV show a little over 20 years ago. William Messner Loeb's Drew Journey. So I'm sorry, I'm just mixing up their work together on the Max and Epicurus. Okay, my bad. I thought that Sam did a little of something or other for Journey, like supporting chapters or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, Herman was definitely a beloved bande dessinée artist. Did a lot of stuff that was very popular in France and Belgium and known well throughout Europe. That isn't as well known here. Somebody that I hope to learn more about personally. What I've said is great. Let's see. EJ says, great artists passing away, never good news. But I believe being treasured and leaving everlasting impact on this world is all any artist could ever ask for. I agree. I think that there's a human desire to live beyond what we know we're capable of. And that the vast majority of us basically do that through having kids, right? That's our legacy to the world. But for some of us, we want to write or draw or paint or make music, create something that lives beyond us. It's just in our nature. We just don't want to be forgotten. We're like, we know we're going to be gone, but I don't want to be forgotten. And I think EJ's got a great point there. So it's tough to move on from this news item, but loved Sam Kieth. He will be missed. It's too bad we don't get more. He did do a good amount. And I think, the Max is a fine example of an artist's vision just shining through. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Strongly recommended if you've never checked it out. It's weird and cool. All right. I'm going to move on. But I've got something a little related because I mentioned here that one of Sam Kieth's earliest jobs was inking Matt Wagner. Well, Matt Wagner this week announced his best-known title, continuing. Grendel, artist, writer, creator, Matt Wagner is going to continue his epic. He's going to do Devil's Crucible Sedition. That was news that was originally an exclusive on Comic Book Live. So yeah, the story of Grendel continues. A crazy epic. You can read each sort of 4 or 5 issue story, and it tells a story in and of itself, but it also just takes place from the modern day into the far future. And Grendel isn't necessarily just sort of like one person. It's like this dark entity. And it isn't like necessarily defined as like, oh no, I'm going to get possessed by the Grendel. No, it's an idea. So there's a theme that goes across Grendel. It's really cool. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, this follows up directly on the events of Grendel Devil's Crucible Defiance. It's going to be a 4-part story arc, and it continues with Grendel Prime teaming up with a clone of former Grendel, Christine Spar. Christine was, all of a sudden I'm blanking, I want to say it was from the 3rd Grendel arc, but maybe she was in the 2nd as well. I think it was just she started in the 3rd arc. But Christine Spar was a very popular Grendel in a lot of ways. And, the timeline has moved on so far that we've moved on. And even if he did a chapter back then, no, her time as Grendel is very tight. There's no real gaps that you could fit a new Grendel story in. But they're now at this place so far in the future that there's all sorts of weird genetic stuff. Grendel Prime is, basically a genetically created warrior. So it's really cool to be getting this classic character back. Anybody that's read Grendel, I think, will be excited. Even if it's a clone, it's a very cool concept to be able to bring that back. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. 4 issues, that's going to begin July 25th. If you've never read Grendel, it wasn't that long ago that Wagner collected a new edition, I think it was through Dark Horse, of the first story arc with Hunter Rose. It's this brilliant, like sort of Hannibal-esque criminal. It's really, really cool. And have I done an episode about that? Yeah, I have. GlobalComix. This is a weird one. So, GlobalComix raised $13 million in venture capital. That was in a round led by SBI, US Gateway Fund, and more relevant to what I'm going to be talking about, Point72 Ventures. $13 million they raised for themselves. If you don't know, GlobalComix is an online digital comics platform, and they've experienced a lot of growth, especially with the death of Comixology. Technically, they're still around, but not like they used to be. GlobalComix signed, DC, Marvel, Kodansha. They signed a lot of publishers where you can read it. GlobalComix raised a bunch of money. The company announced also that they have acquired a startup digital manga platform, Inker, and that brings like 200,000 Japanese, Chinese, and Korean comics. And technology. I'm going to talk about the technology that GlobalComix is excited about, that they hope to use in their own publishing, distribution, and localization efforts. Localization meaning translation. Comic Book Yeti is on several social media platforms. The one that I saw this on was Blue Sky. This is the first and only person that I saw dig this up. But they dug into Point72. And they found that Point72, which, again, is a venture capital firm, basically they just invest in stuff to make money. They don't really have an outlook or anything. But they're really into AI technology. Not great. Not great, because so far GlobalComix has been anti-AI, but now they're getting a $13 million investment by a company that has a lot of AI. And also Inker, that uses specifically AI translation, not hiring people to do the translation. It has technology to read the Korean, the Chinese, the Japanese, and translate it into English. So it's a little like, let's put a big fat question mark over our heads about where GlobalComix could be going. The president of Point72 he owns the Mets, but he did some insider trading and got banned for like 2 years from doing any trading on Wall Street. There's some really crazy stuff to that guy's history. Yeah, I saw a few people reacting really quickly to this. I don't know what to say. Right now it just means they've got an investor. They haven't announced that they're changing their rules, but I definitely have some strong skepticism about where this is going. I think, personally, that the venture capital firm wanted to acquire a platform that can push out digital content, like comics specifically, but also, a firm that can automatically translate it, and they just want to be able to quickly adapt, just get this super fast pipeline of just shooting the manga out same day, basically, to English readers. I understand that. It's not necessarily a bad goal, but we'll see what it opens up. I'm not surprised you wanted to comment on that. I know you love your Mets. I don't think GlobalComix makes any new comics yet. I think that the goal here would be to potentially create their own content as well. The cool thing I'll say about GlobalComix is this. They have a lot of the big publishers, right? So you can find that. They host very easily a lot of indie self-published comics. So it's kind of cool that you could be on a platform, and if somebody's looking for a certain type of content, that you might get recommended. It's kind of like having fairly good shelf space when you're like the little guy. You could still get noticed on this platform. I like that. GlobalComix also opened up a whole portal on their website where they push YouTubers that create comic book content. BJ Kicks, Sasha on Casually Comics, Drake from Comic Drake, all of them have their shows pushed through GlobalComix. And I appreciate that they're not like telling them what to do. They're just trying to put that content out there. There's some good ideas within GlobalComix. I'm very nervous about what it could become with such a massive investment from Point 72 Ventures. Wow, that is a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, JSA 141. Thank you for all you do for us. You're the best. Hey, I'm just trying to have fun. But thank you so much for the support. I can definitely use it. Everybody thinks, everybody being like companies, really big companies, they think that they need to get into AI because everybody else is. And I think that they all fear being left out of the way things are going. But I think that they're wrong. I think AI, in terms of generation, and that's even generating good answers for you as like, you know, an assistant or an agent. I see it fizzling out because of the costs involved in the same way that NFTs did. I think it will fizzle out. The technology will be here and it might be able to be applied in some helpful ways, but I don't think it's there yet. And I think that the questions that it creates when it generates, you know, art and video and stuff, it infringes on IPs. And I think that that stuff will get a lot of them crushed long term. Let's see. Ayo. If the New York Mets make the playoffs, when you go to New York Comic Con, you and I can go to Citi Field and we can meet the Mets, my dude. I think this might be the first year that I will not be able to afford to go to New York Comic Con. I love to go to New York Comic Con because I enjoy the convention and I love seeing my viewers and I love seeing a lot of the pros that I've gotten to interview and stuff. Mostly, my best friend from college lives in New York. He likes comics. It's been an annual thing we've done, but you know, the tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars that we're going to be spending to do repairs, it's really hard to imagine justifying a trip in there. I just don't know. I feel like I've got to put all that money towards repairs, you know? Anyway, I think AI is a bubble. I kind of agree because I've been through long enough of a period that I've seen, you know, the .com. Like everybody thought you had to have a website, even if that wasn't really, I mean, websites can be useful, but not everybody had to sell something through a website, and especially not like in a crappy way. And the .com bubble burst. I think AI is even more fragile, and the costs to it are insane. You know what I was just reading? Maybe I'm biased because I'm inclined to believe this without, I admit, I didn't like fact check it too much, but I read that some of the people that live in towns where there are these huge data centers for AI servers, it's warming up like that local area, that town. And people are like noticing that it's hotter in their town and they have to spend more on their air conditioning bills and stuff. That sounds crazy. Just got to keep on the $2 super chats for New York. That's a lot of super chats. I am not asking for that. I will not ask for that. The technology won't go. You can't put that back in the box, but I don't think it's going to be as big a thing as people are making it. I've talked a lot about it tonight. It'll come up each week. I've got more to say, but it can wait. It can wait. Let's do some other news because there's some fun stuff too, believe it or not. Look at this. This is for people in the New York area specifically. So, the Philippe Le Bon Gallery, one of my favorite galleries. It focuses very specifically on comic book and sequential art. Beautiful, beautiful place. Anyway, it's announced that it's expanding its gallery. They're going to have a second showroom that they call the Annex. That's awesome. Well, the opening reception will feature original art by the late, great artist Moebius. Yes, Jean Giraud. Philippe Laban owns a number of original Moebius pieces. This last year at New York Comic Con, I stopped by the gallery and got to have a lovely conversation for quite a while with Philippe. And he took me into a back room where he's got all these pieces that he owns himself, not necessarily intended to ever go in the gallery to be sold, but like he's got a few of them being shown, and he had some Moebius art, and it was exciting to see it in person. I don't know why we as humans feel the need to like be so tactile. Like we want to like, you know, physically see or touch a thing, and that makes it more real. But it really is cool seeing Moebius in person. It really is. You rekindled a joy and passion of comics for me? That touches me, man. Thank you. Well, thank you, Christopher. I only wish I could do more. That's more than enough. That's more than enough. You're very kind. You're very kind. Thank you. So yeah, if you're in New York Thursday, there's an opening reception at the Annex. You can look that up if you're in New York City. The Annex will host the Moebius exhibition, while the main gallery continues to showcase right now the works of Klaus Janson. Good timing with the anniversary, of course, 40th anniversary of Dark Knight Returns. So, June 1st through 3rd, Mets in Seattle. Meet the Mets. I'd like to meet Mr. Met more than the Mets. But if you can introduce me to Mr. Met, I would like to meet the baseball-headed man. It was so fun. It was so nice. Philippe is an amazing guy. There was some art back there by Milo Manara. There was stuff back there by Peo, the Smurfs. You know, obviously you can see from his name, he's French. So he's got a lot of respect for a lot of the bande dessinée creators. He's got a lot of connections, though, in the comic book world. There's been Mike Mignola and Frank Cho exhibitions. Gorgeous, gorgeous gallery. I strongly recommend it. If you go through New York, stop by the Laban Gallery because you're going to see some amazing original comic book artwork year-round. So anytime you go, but if you go, for instance, during New York Comic Con, take a minute to go over there. It's really, really cool. And I thought I'd just mention it because, hey, how often in America, anyway, are we going to get an opportunity to see Moebius in person? Not a whole lot. So I wanted to share that with you. I can arguably be Mr. Met. You should go to a Comic-Con as Mr. Met. I think that would be very appropriate. Rosie Red is better than Mr. Met. I don't want to turn this into a mascot off. Although I would pay good money for a fight pay-per-view of just mascots fighting each other. And they have to be very clumsy, and there have to be rings so that they can do wrestling moves like, you know, a top rope, I don't know, superplex or something. Oh, that's a pretty bold statement, in my opinion. Moebius was an influential comic creator. He really was. He's. Oh, is that today? If that's, I think you might be right. Happy Hellboy Day. Happy Hellboy Day. All right, I'm going to move on, but I've got something a little tangentially related. A guy that worked with and knew Moebius very well has announced a new comic. Here we go. Jeff Darrow, who's told me some really interesting stories also about Moebius. Sounds like an incredible guy. Sounds incredible. Really sounds like he was kind and helped Jeff too. But anyway, Comics Beat revealed that Jeff Darrow will release a new 4-issue Shaolin Cowboy story in July called Staying AI Live. So maybe I should have positioned this so that the GlobalComix article was after this. I don't know. Whatever. Staying AI Live. Jeff is hilarious, man, if you don't know. Dark Horse had the story synopsis. The Shaolin Cowboy faces an icy reception when he leaves his wasteland retreat on a mission of mercy, following the considered console of a desert swallow and a horned toad, both endangered species. But none is endangered as the wandering ex-monk becomes, once again, because in this typical American small town, he learns euthanasia is the new import duty on foreign imports. Awesome. I'll get anything Jeff Darrow. So I'm an easy sell on this. I'm an easy mark. But this is cool to me. There's going to be some variant covers, folks. Ryan Otley, Peach Momoko, Daniel Warren Johnson, David Mack. Jeff's got some nice friends. I was especially excited to see this Daniel Warren Johnson thing because if you've watched, I don't remember which interview it was that I did with him, but I asked Daniel if he ever had an awkward convention story. And he had one where he thought he had embarrassed himself in front of Jeff Darrow. Apparently, there is no hard feelings because that's amazing. Oh my goodness, look at this. Gavin. That's very generous. Thank you very much, Gavin. Can't stay. Sorry to hear about the flooding. Hope this helps. Take care. Gavin, you live in New Orleans. You know flooding as well as anybody out there. I went through a flood once when I lived in New Orleans. Lost a year's worth of comics. This is worse because I own the property. Thank you, Gavin. And folks, not that he asked for it, but Gavin and Ryan North, who I love on Fantastic Four, are the new creative team on The Flash. That's about to start soon. That's exciting. And they just did an interview together on Owen Likes Comics. So you might want to watch that. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you for the kindness, man. Thank you. He's incredible. He's going places. I mean, he already is, but yeah. There you go. There's somebody getting very excited. High five, Gavin. Trust me, I do not expect that out of everybody. That is very, very generous. That's very, very kind. Whew, I'm lucky. They are great fits. No, I think they're all good fits, to be honest. I think they all are. But yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson and Ryan Otley, you can see those covers. You can see them online. I was not going to just show all of the art, but they look great. They look great. It's a good fit. Yeah, Owen Likes Comics. Ryan North and Gavin Guidry together talking about The Flash and their creative process. I think a lot of people that like my show would enjoy that episode. All right. Dynamite news. Dynamite is entering the Compact Comics game. Smart. Who isn't? It's probably the best value in comics these days, right? I think. What's a better comics value than what you get with Compact Comics right now? $10. Tankobon, pocket size collection, tons of issues. Yeah. Anyway, their first compact release is going to be a reprint of Pathfinder. Just like what they do with DC and several Image books and so Oni's doing it. 5x5 by 8.5, $9.99. First title is going to reprint Pathfinder. It was by Jim Zub and Andrew Huerta. I love Jim. Jim's the best. But that was back in 2012 already. That surprised me. I felt like it was not that long ago. Anyway, it's a comic book based on the tabletop role-playing game. If you don't know, Jim is great at this genre. Maybe it feels like typecasting, but certainly, the response to his Conan run is incredible. And he's done a lot of stuff for Dungeons and Dragons. So this is really cool. Compact episodes. What if instead of cutting it and making a clip, what if I did something new? What if I just sped it up in Adobe to be 30 seconds? So you get like a 3-hour show just sped up into 30 seconds. Do you think that would be satisfying to people? I think so. Pathfinder player. Very cool. Anyway, this is 224 pages, and it's got a new bonus 10-page story, The Last Mosswood Goblin. It also has a section of world-building details to tie in with the game or deepen the world of the story, depending on which of the two things interests you most. But I wanted to put that out there. Good value if you've got any curiosity about Pathfinder or Jim Zub. I'll probably pick it up for $10. Yeah, I'll pick it up. Good value. Oh, it's going to be released in June. Should have mentioned that. They didn't have anything more specific than that. Just June. All right. Here's another one. Another new comic. A lot of just new comic solicitations, I know, but some of them sound exciting. Ignition Press. They've got a lot of momentum going, but they're launching a new action series this summer. The book is called Dispatched. It's by writer B. Clay Moore. Artist Daniel, I want to say Geet or maybe Gete. I don't know. But it's one of those probably. Anyway, that comes out the end of June, June 24th. And what is it? It's an action book. The story follows Morgan Power, former Black Ops agent, now living under an alias and working as a delivery driver. Fine. His quiet, isolated life is shattered when a routine shift turns into a terrorist siege at a corporate office park. Trapped in a parking garage, Power must rely on his instincts, his training, and a van full of mystery packages as he fights his way through escalating danger to save hostages. Hey, who knows what people have mailed these days? Maybe there's something useful in there. That's a fun idea. Maybe it's just me, but when I see a post office truck go by, when I see a UPS delivery van, I sometimes wonder, like, if you could just go through all the packages, what kind of stuff would you find? I wonder that. And this is like taking that idea and combining it with, like, a John Wick action type idea. That sounds fun to me. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, mi amigo. Daniel Gite is an up-and-comer. I haven't read his stuff before, but I do like B. Clay Moore. He's a good writer. I think he's got cool ideas and a good sense of humor. Phoenix Jones. I almost forgot that I put this in here. All right. We'll talk a little bit about me and we'll talk a little bit about Phoenix. But Phoenix Jones, a documentary, like not like a small production, an actual movie, documentary film about real life superhero Phoenix Jones has premiered at South by Southwest last week. Let me mention this real quick about Compact Comics. Andy it says a new line of original Compact Comics. Called Maverick. My buddy Matthew Dow Smith has a series called October Girl from them. The first book is out now. I totally missed that. I will be the first to admit that one was not on my radar, but I love the idea of an original Compact Comics. That's a great value. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. All right, let's talk about... No, he goes by Clay. That's his middle name. His last name is Moore. But yeah, it's B. Claymore. All right. So, Phoenix Jones. This movie came out. In an interview this week with People magazine, Phoenix admits that his life has, quote, gotten out of control. As somebody that knew anyway, Phoenix very well for a while, he was always a pretty chaotic guy, and I don't mean that as an insult. He just always sort of seemed like his life was going whichever like path the river flowed. That's just my take. The documentary features interviews from, it says Fodor. His name's Ben Fodor. His brother Karos, adopted brother, but still brother Karos, who's a professional mixed martial artist fighter, fought in Pride. Phoenix's son, Freedom, and other real-life vigilantes. I patrolled with all these guys, by the way. Midnight Jack, Ghost, and El Caballero. I haven't seen this yet. I'll, of course, watch. I was not contacted or asked to be in it, and that's fine. That is fine. Sometimes I'm surprised that they've done, they've done podcasts, and they've done, certain things, and I'm like, that's interesting. Not that I care. It's just that you'd think. I did patrol with him for like a year as a superhero, folks. I was Omega, And I would imagine that I have the biggest platform. You'd think that more people would want to contact me from my perspective. I am not in the film, Andy. I didn't even know this was a thing. I've got an episode about it on Comic Tropes. When I moved across the country, didn't really know too many people. I knew Phoenix Jones from having interviewed him before. And at the time, I had been, when I first moved out here, I had been taking Krav Maga for many years, and I'd also been spending like up to 3 hours a day pretty regularly working out. So I was in much better shape back then. I am in one documentary, the one that ESPN made. ESPN made a documentary about Phoenix Jones. It's like a 30-minute thing. I'm in that one a bunch. But yeah, this was before Kenny Omega was out there. So yeah. Oh, Kurt, nice to see you. Folks, look up Kurt Burdick's comics. They're so wild. I don't know if I could show everything here, but yeah, like Death of Power, really, really cool stuff. Really, really cool stuff. No, I'm not going to get back into it. I got out of it because the people that I was patrolling with were a couple of them were really good guys and had good intentions, and a couple of them I thought were very chaotic individuals that were going to get themselves in trouble. And in fact, just to be clear, about 6 years after, 5 to 6 years after I was doing that stuff with Phoenix, he did get himself in trouble. I'll talk about that in a minute. Documentary is narrated by Rainn Wilson from The Office, of course. He met Phoenix during the filming of the movie Super by James Gunn, which is about a guy who becomes a real-life superhero, and they talk to Phoenix to get advice. Phoenix has a tiny cameo in it as just a person. No, because we had masks, and we definitely had rules. None of us would carry guns or knives, even though some people wanted to. We never did, and the only thing that I did have electric brass knuckles. So if I punched you, you got like a taser punch that I only used once. I also wore lead-lined gloves. So like the knuckles had like lead. It just meant that if I was going to punch you, that was hopefully going to be it. It wasn't going to be a back and forth thing, because that's not what I was interested in. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool stuff, Mike. I'm glad that you didn't know about it and that you're going to give it a shot. Yeah. Some of them carried like taser guns. When you're running around in a mask, if you also Seattle or Washington State is an open carry, but not when you're wearing a mask. Not when you're wearing a mask. So we yeah, it was crazy. I'm the reason. Well, my friend Chuck is probably still in here. Chuck worked on that game. He did the what do you call it, Chuck? The GUI, the interface, the graphical user interface for Infamous. And I knew Phoenix, and since it's set in Seattle, they were like, oh, maybe we could like do some fun cameo stuff with Phoenix. So like Chuck and I sort of brokered that conversation of him, and that's why he's in that video game throughout it. So yeah, it's a great game, very good game. That is you. He is here. Yeah. Chuck worked. I'm bad at names. Chuck, what was the name of your studio again? They do like Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that. They're great. They're incredible. Chuck did a lot of work for them. But yeah, he worked on Infamous and Infamous Second Son. So yeah. Anyway, that's why Phoenix is in there, is because of just me and Chuck. Like, that was the chain. Is Chuck worked for Sucker Punch. Thank you, Sucker Punch. Yeah. And I knew Phoenix and I know Chuck, and so like that, they were like, that's how it happened. Chuck and I probably got paid zero for that. I know I got paid zero. I imagine, Chuck just got paid his salary. I don't think that we got any sort of bonuses for that. I've always sort of wondered if I should just talk about that, like the craziest people, or if I should like save it and do a comic someday. But I would say that that guy that's mentioned in there, Midnight Jack, I just worried about him like doing something. He always wanted to carry knives, and we were all like, no. I was always worried that he would like hurt somebody, so I just eventually left. He hates me, by the way. He hates me. Because then, like later, I was contacted by Carl Pilkington's people. If you ever watched the Ricky Gervais show, Carl Pilkington had a show where he went around the world trying different things, and one of them was going to be trying to be a superhero. I'm just like the easiest person to sort of like find online. So they contacted me, and the producers followed us around for a patrol to see if it was something that like they'd then have Carl come out and make a show with Phoenix about, which I don't think they did. I think he did it like there in England. But oh my God, Midnight Jack like just wouldn't even talk to me by then. I tried to just like talk to, we had some adventures together. I will say that, like specifically Midnight Jack and I sometimes went out on like 2-man patrols if Phoenix was busy. We did go out on a couple patrols, so I'm disappointed, but yeah. He did get a big bonus. Oh, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. I'm not going to do that. But I did. Here's the thing. Not everybody on the team shared their real names. I didn't want to hide that stuff. And I would like be the first when we were helping somebody that was like injured or lost. I would take off my mask so that I could connect with them and talk with them. Because I didn't care as much. I wore the outfit because I thought maybe it would inspire people. Like it was goofy, but it was like we were helping people, and maybe like that would just be a positive thing. And I didn't feel like ultimately that was really a thing that was happening, and that's sort of why I gave up. I was like, you can be a good person without needing to wear the costume. I can break up a fight. I can do homeless handouts and stuff. I can do all that stuff without wearing the mask and the costume and stuff. So, but I did figure out like all their names and stuff like that. Like I was like careful to pay attention. And then eventually Phoenix asked me to control like his email and social media accounts. So he gave me all the login information. And that's when I saw that he was like, always like, even though he always said that he was straight edge, there were all these emails coming in that he was asking me to screen, like where he's like asking for Molly and stuff. And I go, oh, he's a hypocrite. It's dangerous. That's why I stopped. Is as soon as he like let me see that stuff, I was like, oh, you're not telling me the truth. You're doing some stuff that I don't trust you anymore. But I didn't like hack anything. He gave me the login stuff and told me that he didn't have time to read his email and stuff to screen it and to post stuff to social media. I was like, I guess I'll try. And then like within like a couple weeks, I was like, no, never mind. Anyway, this documentary follows his years of being a superhero from around 2010 to the modern day. It does include his 2020 arrest for selling drugs. Specifically, he sold Molly. And I think he only had to pay like a $500 fine. So that was sort of a news story that maybe was, it looks worse than it is because it's like, oh, this real life superhero is selling drugs. It's like, yeah, he is. And it's wrong. But it isn't like he was out there, as like a drug kingpin selling like really hard stuff. He paid $500 fine for selling Molly, which is not good. He sold it to an undercover cop. That's why I stopped hanging out, is I suspected something along those lines could happen. And I was done. And it took like 6 years after I left for it to happen, but it did happen. And I was like, yeah, I made the right choice. So anyway, I talked a little bit more about myself than I meant to. I wanted to put out that this documentary is out there. I will definitely be watching it at some point. I don't know what to make of it. He's an interesting guy. I'll say this, is he physically fit? He's incredible. He's a trained MMA fighter. Super athletic, incredible athleticism, the stuff he could do. He really could. In a huge, we would all wear bulletproof vests, which weigh quite a bit, as well as a costume. It weighed a lot. He could run, he could flip, he could fight in that stuff. It was impressive. It was impressive. And he was funny and charming and gregarious. And that's why it works to a degree. People like to talk to him. But he's all over the place. I don't know what any of his true goals were, other than I think he liked or needed a certain amount of attention. I really think he needed attention more. I think he did want to do good, but I think he wanted to do it for the attention. I do. That's what I think. I don't know. I can't know inside his head, of course. I'm speculating wildly. Maybe someday I'll make a comic book about my adventures that I did, like seeing him, but also like, I said, Midnight Jack and I, there was one night we went on a 2-man patrol. We witnessed a taxi hit 4 pedestrians. We had to administer first aid, and we had to stop the taxi driver who tried to leave the scene of the crime. We stopped them until the police and EMTs got there. And then that same night, there was somebody that started speeding around with like another car's bumper dragging behind them. We hopped in a car and sped. There was a car chase. We chased them, and it was 2 really drunk women. They got to their apartment and they pulled a knife on me, but I had like my 3M vest. It was it's also stab proof. And we had the police meet us, and we told them and showed them, and that was all in one night. And there were plenty of nights like that. There was a New Year's Eve where a guy saw us, and he was like, I've already talked to the cops, but I've lost my girlfriend tonight. We're in Seattle, like everybody's partying because it's New Year's. He's like, she only speaks Spanish. We got a description. She didn't have a cell phone or anything, but we got his number. And I found her in a subway. She was just like so scared. She was just by herself. And I don't speak good Spanish, but I did take it in college. So, and this was, 15 years ago? No, not quite that many, right? Could it be that many? No, it's more like 12 years ago. Okay. Anyway, yeah, talked to her and called the boyfriend and reunited them. That felt really, really good. That was one of the ones I was most proud of. That, and honestly, administering the first aid to those 4 people that got hit by the taxi. Oh my God, was that dramatic. Crazy stuff. We saw a dead body once, a homeless guy in the tunnels underneath Seattle. All sorts of wild stuff. I've talked enough about it. Sorry, you're here for comic book news. I'll keep going. No. He's a white guy. All right. John Carpenter. I love John Carpenter. Come on, man. Even if it was, I don't know, just The Thing, I'd love John Carpenter. But how many great movies has John Carpenter made? Dozens. Well, now movie director John Carpenter is writing his first original comic book. Cathedral, coming from his publishing imprint, Storm King Comics. That's going to come out August 4th as a graphic novel. And he is getting help with it. But yeah, John Carpenter writing a comic book story. He's also composing a score to accompany the comic. Come on. That's mostly what he does these days. He's pretty much retired from filmmaking, but he does go on tour playing his original electronic music. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. It's what makes him happy. His scores for things like Escape from New York or Halloween are iconic, in my opinion. Iconic. And I love that there will be a score accompanying a comic book. I think that's so, so cool. Carpenter writing comics. I know. So let me tell you about this. But this is his first original full comic story. That's what's a little unique about this. So 120-page graphic novel, and it's written by Carpenter along with his editor, producer, wife, Sandy King, and a guy named Sean Sobchak. It's illustrated by Federico De Luca and Luis Guaragna. I hope I'm pronouncing those names correctly. That's awesome, man, that you got to see him. Very cool. I love Big Trouble in Little China. Love it, love it, love it, love it. The story focuses on this dilapidated church. I'm summarizing it in this bullet point, but I read about it. So, dilapidated church. It's like walled off from the city, not walled off, but like fenced off. People ignore it. They just like get bad vibes from it. They ignore this thing. But then a murder takes place. So the police have to investigate. And this police officer enters, and she finds out that there's a demon that I think in the past killed someone she knew, but it was like basically trapped there by like a long time ago by like shamans and stuff like that. So it's like a dark, scary place. I think other dimensional. It gives me vibes a little bit of something like, something supernatural, but also Assault on Precinct 13, like sort of an attack on like a section in the city. It sounds really cool. They Live is happening right now. That is totally true. That is totally true. So anyway, I just thought I'd put that on people's radar. August 4th, Cathedral. Could be fun. I think John Carpenter is a fantastic voice. I would say, Ghosts of Mars, I guess I didn't love, but just about everything else I enjoyed on some level. Escape from LA wasn't Escape from New York, but it was still pretty fun. Bruce Campbell's got a cool cameo in that. I love Christine and The Fog, and I even like James Woods in Vampires. I think that one's kind of fun. But Prince of Darkness is fascinating. My favorites are like The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York, Halloween. Really, really cool. Really, really cool stuff. That's true. Prince of Darkness does take place in a church. So, yeah. Golden Apple does a signing around Halloween every year for the annual horror comic that Storm does. That's really cool. That's cool. A unique one. Look at this. If you put a gun to my head 1 week ago and said, has Frank Miller ever drawn Ninja Turtles before? I'd have told you, yeah, I think he's probably drawn a pinup. No, I guess not. I guess I'm wrong. But Frank Miller has drawn the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the first time as a variant cover for IDW's upcoming 300th issue of the Ninja Turtles. I love the Ninja Turtles. And I also will say, before I go too far, yes, this is Frank Miller's newer art style. I think this is the best thing he's drawn in years. I think that this is tremendous shape theory. I think it's got great composition. I think this looks fantastic. I think this is the best thing he's drawn in years. The 300 number comes if apparently you count up all the Ninja Turtle comics from all the different publishers it's been at since the first issue in 1984. So we're including, the indie Mirage comic stuff. We're including the Image issues. We're including all the IDW stuff. But hey, whatever they need to do to justify 300 issues, fine. That's okay. Here's a quote. It was fun to jump into the playground with the ninjas for this cover and reminisce that they were born by Peter, he means Laird, and Kevin Eastman, as homage to my Daredevil run, said Miller in a statement. This one is for the fans. Well, thank you, Frank. Hey, it's my sister. Thanks for coming in after your meeting. Thanks. The Ninja Turtles by Eastman and Laird. You probably know this, but they were parodying what was popular at the time, which included X-Men stuff, but also the Frank Miller run on Daredevil. That he did, introduced the Hand as a dangerous ninja cult. So the Ninja Turtles created the Foot. The mentor figure that Miller introduced was Stick. So for the Ninja Turtles, they got Splinter. Those are some specific parody elements. It just shows, the Ninja Turtles were always, like a labor of love of the stuff that they loved, Eastman and Laird. X-Men, Frank Miller on Daredevil, and Jack Kirby. Those three things are like the biggest influences, I would say. I like the Miller TMNT drawing. Reminds me of Eastman. Yeah, definitely. Not a fan of the colors, though. That's fair. Maybe I should have shown the black and white, which I'm sure will be an option, because there will also be a cover by the creators, Eastman and Laird, and, of course, a blind bag program with a bunch of different variants. But I thought this was one of the best things I've seen by Frank Miller in quite a while. And here's the cover by Eastman and Laird. Lovely to see them work together anytime. What a partnership. What an incredible partnership. Love what the Ninja Turtles is. Love how versatile it is, that you can tell kind of dark, gritty, street-level action stories, and you can also do weird sci-fi spacefaring stuff. It's just crazy. But I wanted to put that on people's radar, that's coming up. I don't know which cover you'll want, but yeah. Zdarsky. Let's talk about Chip Zdarsky. So he made 18 issues of Zdarsky comic news. If you shopped at a comic store in the last couple of years, you probably saw that at your shop. That was a small zine, really, that he gave to, not gave to comic. He sold very cheap to comic shops, and then comic shops would give it away. It promoted his upcoming comics or his friends' comics. They had articles and interviews, and it had a really good sense of humor. It was really funny. Well, he's announced that he's going to collect all those articles into one collection. It's coming out June 24th, and it makes sense. It will be available exclusively in comic book stores. I love Chip, too. He's very funny when he wants to be. Like, he does serious stuff is what I mean. But he's also very funny. They're good. It's good interviews and articles and stuff, and it's got a big sense of humor. Anyway, here's the synopsis. Finally, all 18 issues of the award-losing free magazine collected in a non-free format, featuring funny stuff and interviews with comic creators like Scott Snyder, Gail Simone, Dennis Camp, James Tynion IV, Brian K. Vaughan, who, by the way, is the co-writer on Dune 3, if you saw that trailer. Way to go, Brian. Teenie Howard, Eve Ewing, and more. I swear, this will be the only time I print this thing, and it will be to order. So if you want any, now's the time. Also, it's a comic shop exclusive. I love you, comic shops. Chip. And then he put in brackets Zdarsky. So that's basically $18. Comes out June 24th. If that does sound like something you want to read, you're going to have to tell your comic book store, because they're probably not going to order tons of this stuff. It's pretty focused. Yes, his real name is Stephen Murray. I've made an episode about him, but yes, his pen name is Chip Zdarsky. I really get to the shop. Never seen this. Probably need the collection. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Like, you saw the names that he just listed there for interviews. And Zdarsky's sort of parroting the industry with little articles, too. So it's a snapshot of like a 1.5 year period, but it's really cool. It's really cool. Physically healthy until I start dying of black mold. Jokes. All right. What else do I have? I have 2 more pieces of news, and then we'll do some reviews. That'll be fun too. Abrams. I've got some art. I've got some news from Abrams. Abrams is a book and comic book publisher. But they issued their June solicitations, and there were 2 things in there that I thought were especially interesting. These are the solicitations through Lunar Distribution. It includes both a new John Byrne comic and a popular manga for the first time in English. So, Volume 1 of the 3-volume X-Men Elsewhen is coming out this June through Abrams. That's 232 pages, written and penciled by John Byrne, inked and colored by a wide variety of people. It continues the X-Men book as though he got to run it once he left. You know, he and Claremont obviously created an iconic run, still arguably the best X-Men run. I think it could easily still be argued, but he left. He's like, what if he kept writing the story? So we are going back to like, the early 80s X-Men and continuing with all new stories, but as though he just got to run it all. So this was fan fiction that he put on his forums for years and years, but it's a labor of passion. He doesn't own these characters, but he loves them. And I think it's wild. Well, yeah, he did it for fan fiction. I was gonna, you could say fumbled, but I think it has more to do with the fact that they were a little like cautious about how they wanted to present this, because they never officially had authorized it. I mean, just to be clear though, Abrams has a license with Marvel to publish certain things for them. And it's just sort of in honestly a little bit of a prestige format. So they're doing some other stuff too. So anyway, it's $40 though for 232 pages. If you're a fan of either John Byrne or the X-Men, this is probably the kind of thing that you got to own, just because it's so weird in a way. Like, who else in comics has done sort of their own fan fiction at this scale and then gets it published? I can't think of a fan fiction that turned into a real project. But there's another thing. Abrams is also going to be releasing the first volume of Billy Bat by my favorite mangaka, Naoki Urasawa. And that follows a comic book artist who realizes that he may have unintentionally plagiarized the character from his home back in Japan. Hold on 2 seconds. I just realized that I'm in a room where I can show you something. Here. I've got the entire Japanese run of Billy Bat because I love Urasawa so much. It's really interesting. I put it in like the notes here too. So the artist lives in, boy, that's some glare. He lives in 1949 Los Angeles, but when he realizes that this character he's been drawing might have been plagiarized from something he remembers from his childhood in Japan, he goes back, and this is, of course, just after World War II. So it's war-torn Japan, and he's trying to investigate, like, where did this come from? Like, I sort of remember it, but not completely. And he finds out that this character has this deep, long history that opens up a strange conspiracy. It's epic, but it's about a mangaka or a comics creator, really, because he's in America originally. Very, very beautiful, very cool, weird comic. Can't wait to just blast through it in English. So that should be very, very cool. I'm excited about Elseworlds too. I think that's really cool. Oh, that's true. Michael Fife kind of did Suicide Squad with Copra, but it's but it sort of went in its own direction, didn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I do recommend it, folks. And last piece of news that I put in here just bummed me out a little, but today was the final day of business for the comic book store Silver Sprocket in San Francisco. Yep. So the store owner, as well as comic book publisher, because Silver Sprocket publishes comics, Avi Ehrlich, announced this over the weekend on Instagram that he was closing on Monday. The store has already made some tough employee cuts. They've had a bunch of, sales and campaigns to get people in the store to try to turn things around. But Ehrlich says he's been taking on personal debt for months to keep it operating, and he had to just cut his losses. So too bad, because a lot of people say it's a great shop, great alternative indie store. Ehrlich plans to pivot and to keep Silver Sprocket alive as a pop-up entity at, book festivals, maybe comic conventions, community events. And he's going to try to keep the online presence going. But the physical store is closing. He did start Silver Sprocket, like basically as, something he was running out of his basement at one point. So it's sort of pivoting back to that. There are no plans to stop publishing comics. They do have a new book that they're slated to release in June. So good luck to Avi. My sincere sympathy to the employees and the community of readers at Silver Sprocket. That's too bad. I always heard nice things about that as a comic book store. I think it's a combination of just where readers' interest was and the operating costs of a physical location in San Francisco. It just wasn't. It's like about a little over a decade, I want to say. A little over a decade they've been open as a physical store. I think in this specific location, 6 years. So I'm pretty sure I've got that right. Look at that. They supported my first self-released comic, and I'm forever grateful. They also published the award-winning Pee Pee Poo Poo by Caroline Cash, who is now the writer and artist on the Nancy comic book strip, which is, I think, pretty amazing. Whoa, look at this. The Beowulf, you're always here. This is so kind. Guess who's medical debt-free? It's me. Time to give back to the guy who kept me company when I was on my almost deathbed. Look out for, I've never heard of this, Besset's disease, y'all. Thanks for getting me back into comics. Not bad for a guy I started watching for Lego reviews. I did do a couple Lego reviews early on. Well, you've been with me from the beginning. Thank you very much, buddy. Wow. Trust me, I know that I'm as grateful for people giving me $2 as $100. I know it's a different scale, but I also know people have different situations. But Beowulf, you're always here. I really do appreciate just having a regular community with so many of you. Beowulf, you always have kind and funny comments, give a unique perspective to us. And my understanding is that they are going to continue to operate as a publisher. Oh, it's an autoimmune disease. I'm allergic to my own vascular system. Geez, while Chrissy doesn't necessarily have that specific thing, she does have autoimmune issues and, can't produce always enough red blood cells to carry oxygen throughout her own body. So, I've got a lot of sympathy for dealing with things like that. That's very challenging. Thanks, Spotty. Thanks, Spotty. Appreciate you working against me. All right, folks. Look at this. It looks like a total mess behind me. I know it's just stacks of stuff, but I've had to, normally right here, just to be clear, I've got my professional camera for shooting comic tropes and various lights that are set up. Those are just all sort of stacked up on a shelf along with just stuff that I had to move from the basement, and we've still got tons and tons of stuff. Randy has sympathy. Yep. Humira? I don't think I know about Humira, but I'll look into it. Thanks. Appreciate that. That might be really helpful. Shall we pivot to doing some comic book reviews? I think that would be a nice idea. Let's see how this works, because this is a completely new setup. Folks, we're going to move over to the next segment of the night, which is reviews.
Let's review.
Review it.
The review.
The reviews are in. I repeat, the reviews are in.
Go to your reviews.
What?
Speaking of bad reviews.
Don't worry about that review.
Let's review all the facts.
All right, gentlemen, let's review.
Before we do, let's review.
Those reviews really came out fast.
Maybe we can review some right now?
I'm not going to review all that again.
Now let's review.
Not my worst review.
Let's review, shall we? To review.
I think I've reviewed about as much as I can.
Oh, there's massive damage. I appreciate the kindness, but unfortunately, the damage downstairs is absolutely massive. This room is cooler. Yeah, I think that, it does look nice for what it is. The reason I haven't done it is because it was nice to have this spread out as a set and have the downstairs just be this comfortable area where I could edit as well as like take a rest on the couch that was right behind me and stuff like that. So now I just have to sort of squeeze everything together, but whatever. Thank you. Let's see. I discovered your show during COVID and have been watching ever since. No kidding. It's a bright spot in an otherwise bleak period for so many people. Everyone should support one another more than ever. So here you go. Thank you. Is that you by any chance doing the Tomie cosplay? Because that thing's amazing as a PFP. What did I say? Did I do something weird with phrasing? I'll talk about it in a little bit. The answer is a little, not a lot. All right. Yeah, it's always been just like it's a room that would have been like kind of a small guest room. I think it was originally like a baby's room when we bought the house. What's nice about this and made it like the right room to record in is that it only has a single window that I could very easily put up these really heavy curtains easily on. That way I could control the lighting on my show and audio proof it a little better than some of the other areas. Oh, you're awful. You're the worst. All right. So what do we got for new comics? We are nearing the end game for the Ultimates. It's a joke kind of because Avengers Endgame and Ultimates is about Avengers. So issue 22. You know what's impressive is even though we're sort of wrapping up and there's the last few issues have dealt with the team of the Ultimates going up against, the various supervillains that literally control the world. Each issue continues to be its own separate story. And this one is Captain America going up against the Red Skull, who he strongly suspects is his childhood friend Bucky. And we sort of pivot between these, weirdo white supremacists that operate as like the Red Skull gang and are doing horrible things. They literally have barricaded the last of themselves behind this fort and are using babies on their jackets to prevent like people from attacking them from a distance or anything like that. But Captain America is determined to get in there and take them down. I won't give away all the hows and whys of what happens there, but it is interspersed with flashbacks to Steve's childhood. And this version, he is friends with Bucky, but they're very specifically the same exact age. They were born the same day in the same hospital, and then their mothers happened to live in apartments right next to each other. So they've grown up thinking of each other as brothers their entire lives. And Steve's definitely, more sickly. But that's a little bit different. That's a little bit different than the mainstream Marvel universe. And I was a tiny baby at one point, not anymore. I'm a tiny baby. These are my tiny little baby arms. I don't know. I liked this. I really liked seeing them grow up together as closer to brothers. And the absolutely devastating thing about this version of Bucky and Cap is that the Red Skull is Bucky, and he tried to be a great person like he was during the war. And when these supervillains took over the world, he couldn't continue after a certain point. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, but it's heartbreaking. Thank you very much for this incredibly generous donation from up in Canada. Sorry to hear the bad news. It is pretty bad for me. Hope this helps. It helps. It helps. I once asked what your white whale of collecting was, and you mentioned the Jaws manga. Now that you've got it, what's the next hunt? That's a good question. Have I come up with another? Well, first of all, I stupidly put it somewhere that I thought was like, for safekeeping and forgot. exactly where. So I it's in my house. I know it's safe, but I don't know exactly where I put it. I put it in some sort of like storage box or something and forgot which one. I didn't mark it. Stupid, so stupid. So I need to find that. But what else I would say, if I was ever in a financially healthy position, it would mean a lot to me to get like maybe a second or third printing of Ninja Turtles #1. I think I would enjoy that quite a bit. Yeah, that's probably something that I do think about. Thank you for the support and the question. And thank you again to JSA141. After all these years, I got to know, did you really use a taser on yourself in that Black Lightning episode? Yeah. That was from my superhero days that I talked about earlier. In retrospect, would I have tased myself again? Yes, but I would have done it like in the forearm or something, not on my chest. Oh my God, I'm so lucky I didn't do some sort of damage to myself. I still think it's funny to get an electric shock. It's not that dangerous, but I can't believe I did it on my chest. Like, I just wasn't thinking about, that's kind of close to your heart. You might not want to shock that area. You might want to just give it to, like, you know, your hand or your arm. So yeah, I definitely tased myself there, and I still would, but I would have done it to my hand or my leg, something like that, not my chest. Stupid. My heart is in my chest. Oops. So in Ultimates, I think that like the scary thing is just how realistic it feels. Because, you know, now old Bucky explains, he's like, look, after the war, I ran as a senator like countless times. I tried to do good in my community. But like, it just like, it never seemed to make a difference. The people in power were always just sort of stopping me. And, you know, after decades and decades of that, he took a job from Nick Fury to infiltrate the Red Skulls. And once he'd infiltrated them, after doing that for like years upon years, and this was, of course, Nick Fury, who's not a good person, and here his goal, he just slowly started to sort of believe some of the ideology. So he got corrupted over an incredibly long period of time. And it's like that. This is why the Ultimates works so well for me. It's sci-fi. You know, it takes place in a world that is run by literal supervillains. It's not really our world or that recognizable as our world, because, you know, all the governments report, and it's not that much of a secret to these superpowered individuals. But it feels very authentic to our world, the idea of, I am trying to do good, and it feels like the system that I operate in isn't allowing me to get ahead in life, isn't allowing me to help those I want to help. Those parts feel very resonant, right? And so it's like it's taking place in this world that we can go, that's different enough that I'm comfortable reading it. You know, like obviously my world does not literally have Red Skull and Hulk and Maker like running around ruling the world. But do we all feel like, you know, what we vote, you know, we try to do outreach to our community, and it's just like, and we just try to survive. And, you know, like, what's the gas where you guys live? Tell me what a gallon of gas is for you. And let me show you something real fast, because I took a photo of this, and I know I've got the most expensive gas in the country here, but this was wild. Let me show you what gas was here today. Did I? Oh, I got it as a. There it is. There it is. This was a gallon of gas. Can you guys see that? Regular gas, $5.89 at a Shell gas station. That isn't where I fill up. I can get it cheaper than this. But $5.89 I saw, and I had Chrissy snap this photo. I was like, oh my God, take a picture of that. This is an insane $5.89. And look, tons of people are saying still $5 a gallon. $4, I'm happy for you. Like $4 these days is $3.90 is good. Was $2.50 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, the cost to just survive. $4.50 in Portland. $5.89. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that this was the cash price, and if you pay with debit, it's 10 cents more. I'm pretty sure that that's the way that store works. Will it go up further? Probably. It's insane, folks. So, you read the Ultimates, and in some ways I can feel good because the heroes are making their world better in the Ultimates. And it's not quite our world because, there's literal supervillains in charge. But can we relate to certain elements of this where we feel like life is just hard to survive or it's hard to make a difference? Yeah, in that way, I think Dennis Camp and Juan Frigeri have created a book that's incredibly relevant for today. And I think will still stand the test of time because it's a fictional story with just the core motivations for the heroes, I think will always be relevant. Even if things get a lot better or get a lot worse, I think that this will be very relevant. And I love it. No, I don't go to Shell. Shell's always the most expensive, but that was bonkers. There were 3 new DC Next Level books this week. I didn't pick up Batwoman, even though I do love the creators, but I sort of need to be a little ruthless with what I decide to get. And I was like, two is a lot for me right now. 2 is a lot. And I'll maybe someday, if the reviews are fantastic, I'll have to go back and pick up that in trade. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Lobo and Deathstroke the Terminator as part of DC's Next Level to give my thoughts on that. Thank you for this. Kindly Dell. So sorry about the flooding. Thank you. It's not fun to deal with right now. Your videos and perspective are really thoughtful, and I've enjoyed watching your channel over the past few months. Good luck with the cleanup. We're hiring pros to do it, but it is not cheap. I will go into a little more detail once I finish the reviews and start drawing, because I know people are a little curious, and I'm happy to share a little bit. But I appreciate all the support I've gotten tonight. I really do. It makes a difference. So Lobo is by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona, 2 creators I really, really enjoy. And I think my favorite part about this personally was the art, actually. I think that Jorge got to do so much fun stuff. I think he makes a Lobo that isn't really aping what Simon Beasley did, but at the same time has a same sort of unhinged, chaotic quality to it. I think what I really enjoy is that you can see Jorge's having fun with the aliens that he gets to put in this story, like this bartender whose head just goes every which way. We've definitely got a Lobo that acts like the Lobo you've read in the 90s comics by like Alan Grant and Beasley and so on, Keith Giffen. He's a total bastard and a jerk. And he's ruthless. And he's got a lot of words that are almost swears, but not quite legally. It's fun, and it parodies a lot of what's in comics. The people are watching essentially a parody of Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's run by this massive, massive corporation that has just bought out all of the bounty hunter business in the galaxy because they've realized that their most popular movies and TV shows are about anti-heroes. So they want to follow the bounty hunters in the real galaxy to get their next stories. Okay. So yeah, it's not a subtle parody at all of the MCU, Disney, and so on. It really isn't subtle, but that doesn't mean that it's not relevant and it's not a funny place to start. The best Lobo stories basically involve him working for someone that's worse than him. Like Lobo doesn't treat anyone with respect, and he'll kill you for being rude or obnoxious in his eyes. But he also doesn't like to kill for no money, because he's a bounty hunter, and he works for hypocrites. So the fun of Lobo has always, the best stories in Lobo are where he takes out hypocrites. The first miniseries that he had, his childhood teacher was just a total jerk, even though she pretended like she was, this saint. Miss Tilbury, I think was her. No, maybe I've got that wrong, but it's something like that. And, Santa Claus in the paramilitary Christmas special was revealed to be a hypocrite. He's got this great image, but he was running, the elves as like sort of a slave camp. So the best stories are where Lobo gets to take out hypocrites. And they've created some, corporate hypocrites that we can at least understand because we've probably been exposed to some of this stuff. This is interesting. I think that the art came too murky. So would that be a criticism of the printing or the colors? Because I didn't really have a problem with that. That's fair to say. I just didn't have that. Look at this cool 2-page spread where Lobo sort of reaches underneath and throws his chain and hook. Not exactly subtle imagery there for what he's doing, but it's a fun 2-page spread. I think Jorge did a great job with this art. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I get what Scotty's doing. I would like to see maybe a little more blood in this book. Maybe that makes me a weird hypocrite. He's going up against like robots and aliens, so like it isn't that crazy. But it was funny enough. I thought that the art looked good. And I get that they're making somebody that's even more detestable that Lobo can eventually take down. Some of the line work is very dense. I didn't have the issues, but I could see it. It is. There's a lot of detail here. I thought it came out great. But then again, maybe I've got a slightly different perspective because I've been reading comics since, like, the printing technology was nowhere near what this is capable of. So to me, this looks very crisp compared to what I grew up reading. But maybe I've got a different perspective there than like people that read, say manga that has very nice, clean, black and white art. I enjoyed it. I'm going to stay with it for a while. It gets a recommend as just its own. Jack is being so loud. It's good. Yeah, my favorite part also, I agree with this. Lobo tells his story, which a lot of the stuff that he talks about shouldn't really technically be in continuity anymore, right? Because DC has rebooted since then, but it doesn't matter because Lobo, who cares about that stuff? I like this part where he says, like, there was a whole situation that I'm still not sure how to describe, so we'll just gloss over that few minutes of my history, because at one point they did make Lobo. It was a very strange era. DC made him like this, like, sort of effete, thin, like pretty boy, which just didn't feel like Lobo. Very strange. But it is kind of funny to see him reference things like Lobo's back and his fights against Superman. And they've even got like the mullet hair Superman. So, this is all stuff that's technically not really in continuity anymore, but it doesn't matter because it's all for jokes. Yep, Lobo's back reference. Very fun. Very strange look. So Lobo I liked. Deathstroke the Terminator I was very excited for. I like Tony Fleecs as a writer. I think both in recent books anyway, Local Man and Stray Dogs. Oh, and also Feral are some of my favorite things. And Tony writes all of those. And there's some art that I assume is by an Italian artist. I forget, what's his full name? Carmine de Giandomenico. Maybe it's not Italian. I don't know. Here, let me show you this because this gives you an idea of what the art looks like. For a 2-page spread, I think that's really nice looking. It brings me back to the Deathstroke that I recognize, where he's an assassin. He's got some family drama behind the scenes. He's got an ally named Wintergreen from his army days that's basically like Alfred the Butler. Jimmy's still here. Jorge crushed it on the art. He's such a monster talent. There's a hilarious Superman pomade joke in this. There is. I like the jokes in it. Anyway, so I like this version of Deathstroke. I like the action in this. You know what? This is such a weird criticism. This is probably not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but I couldn't read the lettering very well. It was very small. Let me open up a page of Lobo just to compare it to. And, let me have this side by side. Just a regular page here. Can't you see this lettering a lot more easily than this lettering? It's like just a little too small, but that's consistent. Look, maybe this is, I'm an old man, Uncle Grandpa here. Oh, what should it say? What does that say? I need my bifocals. Oh, how am I supposed to read this? Oh, my goodness. Who is that? Charles Nelson Riley? I think so. Perfect impression. So it's a weird thing to complain about on some level, but I just felt like this lettering was a little too small. I mean, I've got it zoomed in enough that you should be able to sort of just make out at least a few words here, but can you? I can't really. Yeah, big brass horn. What's that you say? There's still some funny jokes and stuff in this. These security guys, one's getting a call and he's like, Deathstroke the Terminator is breaking in. And he goes, hey, I'm going to take my 10-minute break. He doesn't tell his coworker. He's like, I'm going to take my 10-minute break. He's like, oh, really? What's going on? Don't worry about it. He's like, I'm out of here. But it's too late. Deathstroke has sent a motorcycle full of explosives. I thought that was a little funny. Anyway, it's a decent start. It involves basically some mysterious person puts a hit out on Deathstroke and is way ahead of him. He already kidnapped Deathstroke's basically only ally in the world, Wintergreen. And I like the story. I like the action. I like the art. I legit had trouble reading it. And it made me feel very old, but I had trouble. If they make this into a compact comic, you got to re-letter it. You got it. It's too small. It's too small at regular size. You shrink this down, nobody can read it. Why is Deadpool's mask orange and black? I don't know. Is there a reason? I don't think that there's a reason. That's just the colors he likes. Well, I'll just say this. Design-wise, keep in mind, most of his outfit is blue and orange, and those are opposites on the color wheel. So it's just good contrast. It's the same reason why Hulk and Lizard and Dr. Octopus and all these Green Goblin have purple and green. Purple and green are pretty good opposites, but orange and blue is an opposite. So that's the main reason, honestly, is just that, like, design theory wise, they contrast and stand out really well against each other. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they're aware the lettering is so small. I suspect in a way not. I think that, when they were doing it, lettering it digitally, I strongly just suspect that they didn't realize that they were doing it a notch too small. Because I do think that this is a little too small if you look at that. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm an old man and I'm wrong about this. I feel like the lettering is a little too small there. And that happens because, we do it digitally as compared to by hand these days. So it's not as consistent. Oh, he said Deadpool. All right, let's see. Sorry about what happened. I liked the Deathstroke book. The action scenes felt very Triple X. Yeah, the movie. But I agree the lettering was rough. I don't like nitpicking on any one thing or anything. That was just the part that bothered me the most within this. I also think that by the nature of the story, for setup, we couldn't really introduce too many other supporting cast members, but I think that will become important if this is going to be an ongoing. Deathstroke is going to need to have other people that operate around him that are interesting. And one of them could be his daughter. One of them could be his ex-wife, no question. But I think it might be time to introduce some new people that maybe operate as allies for him. I think that is going to be very important. We'll see if that happens or not. I think it's going to be very important if we're meant to follow him, because Deathstroke is an assassin. And I think we need somebody that's operating as a moral compass and a contrast, and somebody that can maybe add some humor. I think all of that is going to be super, super important for this moving forward. It was fun. I had one specific criticism. Sorry, just double checking. So yeah, overall, I'm encouraged. Are these competing with my love for Absolute Wonder Woman and Absolute Batman? Not yet, but it is also the first issue. First issues are tough, It's like the pilot episode of a show. You've got to get the premise and the gist of the tone out there, but you're still going to need a little bit more to set everything up. So you're mostly going on vibes with a first issue. Do I like the art? Do I like the tone of this? And if you do, then you're going to give the story a little more room to breathe before you make up your full mind. Initially, I'm interested. Both of them could use a little bit more in terms of supporting characters. Both of them. I mean, these are both bad guys, but they're both pretty interesting. The last one I'll review on, a little more depth, and then I'll do some quick reviews, is Battle Beast. So it's back. They took a small hiatus, but I'll tell you something. I prefer a hiatus and then a continued creative team as compared to fill-in issues or fill-in artists. I have come to go, no, I would ultimately take the hiatus every time. That's what they do in manga. Obviously they overwork them, but they do take hiatuses as compared to a fill-in artist. So when we last left off, it wasn't a full cliffhanger, but Battle Beast had actually been wrecked pretty bad by this character called Juggernaut. I'll say this. When it comes back, this is funny. This is super funny. Prince Salaka, his body has been healing. You can get away with this because he's an alien. He's excited because his penis has grown back. That is what an alien penis looks like. Maybe that's off color. I don't know. Robert Kirkman's sense of humor usually makes me laugh. This made me laugh. He's really happy about his big full ass that has grown back. He was basically a little more than a head and a little bit of an upper torso, but he's healing now. I thought it was funny. It's not for everybody, but I think you can get away with that since it's a weird alien cartoon. So anyway, so there's Prince Salaka, there's their computer, and Battle Beast does recover, but there's a lot of funny stuff in this. Here's this wizard alien that's a good guy, and he's finally going to stand up to the Juggernaut, who has a little bit of a Disney-esque design, doesn't she? I think Otley went just a little Disney with that. But I love that this old man is like, I'm going to give it my best shot. And he's casting these spells, and he's going, I'm doing it. I'm holding her back. I'm getting my licks in. I can do this. I can win. Yeah, boy. And then, of course, he just gets bitten in half by Juggernaut. He had no chance. These jokes are simple, but anyway. There's some subplots here that, we might get to see Conquest soon. If you watch the Invincible animated series, the Conquest is an incredibly tough Viltrumite. This story is set back in the past. Conquest and all these other Viltrumites have yet to invade Earth or anything like that, go up against Invincible. So maybe they're going to go up against Battle Beast, probably going to go up against Battle Beast. It's very satisfying because it's funny, and it's nice to see Battle Beast grow a little, because thus far he's a character that's consumed by rage. Not that different in a lot of ways from Lobo, right? But he's not a villain per se. He's just consumed by rage. He doesn't like how that feels, and he wants a battle that could potentially finish him off. So he's not even like necessarily like, say, a Klingon in Star Trek. Like he acts a little like that, like, oh, the honor of battle. But he kind of wants to die. But he's just so tough that he can't find a challenge big enough for it. But he doesn't like feeling like this. Well, Prince Salaka, says, look, you left your home planet because you didn't want to cause pain to like your own people. He's like, and why not turn this rage against like actual threats, even if it's only for a moment? Wouldn't it feel good to do some good in the world? And you know what? While Battle Beast doesn't necessarily respond, it gives him pause. And so maybe we've got a little bit of a turn of heart. I like seeing the character growth in this character that up to now has just been this basically invincible monster. Despite all the rage, he is still just a cat in a cage. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. How much is still intact? Most. To be fair, most. The house. The house is in rough shape. I'll talk about it a little bit more shortly. Thank you for your interest, and I appreciate everybody's support. I saved what I can, which is most. Most. I'll talk about it shortly. Anyway, this is fun. It was funny. It was action-packed. And oddly, has always been a good artist, but I just love some of his design sense and his detail and stuff. Like, here's a shot where, it's Battle Beast in sort of, a witch's hut getting healed. But look at how much detail he's added in the background. I don't think it steals focus from the two characters we need to see, but I think it like adds to the environment in a really pleasant way. Or like this overhead shot that uses some interesting perspective. He doesn't take any shortcuts. Does he draw cartoony? Yeah, but he draws lots of appropriate detail where it matters. I love it. As far as things I'll either say recommend or don't recommend, I just realized I got one with like quite a bad crease there. It's a good thing I don't really care about my overall grade on my comics, but that's a pretty bad crease I got on that one. Oh well. I got the latest Lucky Devils by Charles Brown. How about Charles Soule and Ryan Brown? Cover by Jim Rugg. Variant cover by Jim Rugg. Great issue. Strongly recommend. It's just that it's issue 7, so you're either reading this or you're not. This isn't a good jumping on point. I think it's only going to have 8 or 9 issues. No, you don't have to read Invincible at all to enjoy Battle Beast. Battle Beast follows, a really not a humongous supporting character that was in Invincible, but he's got his own sort of carve out of like this time period that we never saw what happened to him, and he's getting his own adventure. You definitely don't have to have read Invincible to enjoy Battle Beast. Battle Beast is very enjoyable as its own thing. Just takes place within an existing continuity, but it's its own thing. Anyway, Lucky Devils is both hilarious and interesting in terms of what it's talking about philosophically with like, what is the nature of good? What is the nature of evil? This covers philosophy as much as anything else with its supernatural ideas and character development. And I like that. I think philosophy is always an interesting thing to look at. Exquisite Corpses is interesting. I can't claim that it's my favorite thing by either James Tynion or Michael Walsh, but I like it okay. We're finally in sort of an end game where we're down to only like 2 killers out of how many were original? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, the 12 colonies. Okay. So there were like 12 killers representing these people, these rich people in power. And we're getting to the end game. There have been some surprises in terms of like, the innocent civilians that are the supporting cast in this. I wouldn't have expected certain people to have died, but so it's good. It's just not exceptional. I can understand if Exquisite Corpses has lost you. Like each issue is a little hit and miss. And I think some of that is its nature of each issue has guest writer and artist working with Tynion and Walsh. So the pacing is stop and go to a degree. It's an interesting experiment, an overall good story, but it doesn't flow. It isn't fantastic in and of itself the way I want it to be. The G.I. Joe Energon Universe book is just so good. It's starting to become my favorite over Transformers. This one has some really fun stuff. It has Matt Tracker of Mask go up against the Cobra villain Scrap Iron. That's a fun subplot to work in here. Yeah, very cool seeing these guys go up against each other. It feels like it all belongs in the same world. It also has Duke, the leader of G.I. Joe, meeting Optimus, the leader of the Autobots on Earth. Not Optimus Prime, if you're keeping up with Transformers. He is not a Prime anymore. But he is the leader of the Autobots that are on Earth. And these guys don't really get along too well. I kind of like that. Even though they're both good guys that are both very noble, they have very different goals. And Duke especially does not like these robots. He's biased against them. Yeah, it's... At the end, they sort of threaten each other. He's like, Duke says to Optimus, if you're lying or you betray me or anyone on my team, try to pull some alien takeover BS, I will not hesitate to use everything I have to destroy you. Optimus replies, if it were to come to that, I would fear for your safety. I like it when heroes don't necessarily just flat out get along, even though they're the leaders. They come to an understanding that they will share some intelligence with each other. But also, one fun development, Hound, who, is a soldier and who transforms into basically an army jeep, says that he wants to stay with G.I. Joe. He is a G.I. Joe team member now, because they track Energon and stuff, which the Decepticons are after. He's like, I think I will be of most use if I could serve with the G.I. Joe team. And Optimus is like, I'm not your leader anymore, technically. I can't tell you what to do. If that's what you think is the right thing to do, do it. And I think it helps sort of even the odds, because Cobra has some really powerful alien technology from what they've studied. So that's kind of fun. It's really cool. It's really cool. Infernal Hulk disappointed me a little. I just want the Nick Klein art, and Kev Walker is a good artist, but very different from Nick Klein. And this one just has, the evil version of Hulk, who doesn't have Bruce Banner in him, going up against literally God, the Marvel Universe of God, which in some ways is inevitable since he's powered by this ancient evil. And in other ways, I'm like, that's too big. He goes up against technically a servant of the one above all, who's above even the living tribunal on the cosmic scale. That's too big. That's too big. It would be too big for the Hulk to go up against Eternity or something. He's going up against, it's too big. It's too big. It's okay. It's fun to see this big battle between these cosmic forces, because this is a different version of Hulk, but it's weird. He basically fights an angel. The Hulk versus an angel. It's not terrible, just to be clear. It's not. It's kind of fun, but it's weird. That's a weird idea. The cool part about it is the subplot at the end that follows Bruce Banner and Betty Ross trying to live a normal life, and a zombie based on one of the people that Infernal Hulk has killed comes up, chases after his mother, and Bruce and Betty, have to fight it, and that's going to motivate them to finally try to resolve whatever's going on instead of avoid it. It's okay. It's okay. I will continue to read it, but I don't really want to talk about any more comics. I'm going to draw a little, and I'll finally tell you guys about some of the stuff going on in my life. What was I going to talk about first? I guess I can take the banner down, right? Let me just adjust my new work area here, get some tools. I wanted to draw something new, but I just didn't have enough time to set up my workstation as well as everything else. Like there was a lot of work towards cleaning and setting up this work area. The great basement. So tell you what, I'll tell you about the house flooding. And the one thing you're going to like about it is that Jack, my cat, tried to be our hero. So Thursday night, or Friday morning, whichever you want to call it, Jack comes in to the bedroom where we're sleeping, and he touches our face with his paw, which is not really something he does. He might climb over us, but he doesn't really like touch our face. And his paw is wet. And we're like, oh, buddy, stop. What did you do? Play in the sink? Play in the tub? Stop it. And we ignored him. And in the morning, we came down and found our basement flooded. Jack was trying to warn us and tell us that something was different. He's a really smart cat. I wish I'd listened to him and stopped this sooner. Oh, well. So what happened? We have a split-level house real quick, and it is... The basement level, which is, among other things, where I normally edit and do my live streams, is below ground level. Now, while it hasn't necessarily lately been raining too crazy, it has rained a lot here in the Pacific Northwest. And the groundwater, which is the water like, within all the dirt and everything, super saturated. If you walk around in the ground right now, everything's squishy. It might have tons of grass and stuff. It's going to still, you sink into it like mud. It's gross. When you're below ground like that, you have something called a sump pump. And when the groundwater gets to a certain level, because it comes in, the sump pump pumps it up, out a pipe, your regular drainage pipe, and you should be good to go. Ours died in the middle of the night. It happens at a certain point. They don't last forever. And it's kind of hard to know when it's going to go. But apparently that is your responsibility, just so you know. So it died, and our entire basement level, which is the length of our entire house, we've got 2 levels that are basically equal length, flooded. About an inch or so of water. About an inch of water. And... so anything that was on the ground that wasn't, on sort of like a raised area, and a lot of stuff is on a raised area, like my computer is fine because it's on a desk. Most of my comics did actually survive. But I lost a lot. I lost a few hundred comics that are probably worth a good amount. But mostly the modern stuff. Mostly the stuff that I review here on the channel and that I'm sort of like stacking near that work area down there that I haven't really organized yet. It's on the ground or in like a cardboard box. And so I lost a lot of comics. I don't have the biggest collection in the world, but I'll guess I lost more than a long box worth of comics. I don't know, maybe like 2 long boxes worth of comics and a bunch of manga. I don't know exactly what, because you had to clean up so fast with this water still coming in and everything. Anything that was like soggy or wet and ruined, I don't have time to put it anywhere that I could look at it. I need to get this stuff cleaned, so it just went in trash bags. So I don't know everything yet. Someday when I reorganize my collection, I might figure out what's in some of those gaps. I caught glimpses of some of this stuff, but it's too much. I don't know exactly what I've lost, but it's worth a lot. But here's the thing. So we had to do several things. We spent the first whole day, Chrissy and I, just moving stuff, as well as I went to Home Depot and I rented a wet vac and like a dehumidifier device. But we were fighting a losing battle all day. We exhausted ourselves. We're getting older. We each have some health concerns. It wasn't going anywhere. We realized we had to hire a professional. So in the next day, a plumber came, identified that it was the sump pump, replaced that and some pipes, sucked up almost all the water. And then a drying place came and put in a fan that's basically helped absorb the rest of the standing water. But there are rugs down there that are just completely saturated. It's really gross. And there's trash sort of everywhere because things that were on the bottom just ruined. The water spread underneath all the tiling on every room on that. And so all the flooring is going to need to come up, and 2 feet of the drywall in every single room down there, because they took like these moisture readings, and there's moisture in it, and you have to get rid of it before you get mold. You have to treat it. We're talking tens and tens of thousands of dollars of repair. We've lived here for about 6 years, so it surprised us. Today is Monday, so it was the first day I got to talk to my insurance company. They said they started off like making it sound good. They're like, you have protection up to like, $780,000 on your home. I was like, oh, thank God. He's like, so here's how that works. We don't cover mechanical failure. So like all the plumbing stuff that you've already paid for, which was about $4,000, a little more. And like the rental stuff, a few $100, we don't get any of that back. That's just something we had to pay out of our pocket. They're like, we'll pay for up to $10,000 in repair. So all the stuff we lost, furniture, comics, one of Chrissy's violins, I could ask for that, but then that comes out of that same $10,000 that's for the repairs. Imagine an entire, floor. I've got a living room, a guest room, 2 closets, a full bathroom, a laundry room, a long hallway, and did I say? Oh, and an HVAC room. All of that, the walls and the flooring, all have to get replaced, or we will have mold and I guess die. And we have to move stuff. This is where we store stuff. So we've got a lot of boxes of just stuff from whatever. So I don't know how much this is going to cost, but I'll tell you it's probably several tens of thousands of dollars. And we've got $10,000 worth of coverage. Plus, technically, I guess $2,000 more, but I pay that as a deductible. My deductible is $2,000. You don't get that back or anything. So anyway, to repair our home and make it livable, it's what we've got to do. We don't have that in savings. We just don't. So what we're going to have to do something, whether that's like, sell off a bunch of stuff, or more likely probably take out some sort of a loan, probably a home equity loan on the value of the house or something. Because what can you do? You have to do these repairs. So I was just trying to keep you updated. So look, I'm not trying to make it a total sob story. I'm trying to keep you updated because obviously this changes my priorities as well as how I can work. Now, I have set this up here. I'm able to do a live stream. That means I will also be able to edit here. How will I be able to record the next episode after this? Haven't figured that out yet, but I can edit now the next episode. Probably, I think I can get it done by this coming weekend. I think I can. Because I was pretty far along. We'll see. So there is comic tropes that will still come, but I am delayed. I have to figure out a new way to get all the work done, obviously. And obviously, just like the overall concern is just how are we going to pay for this stuff? I still have to do my taxes. I always owe because YouTube doesn't take out taxes. They just pay you throughout the year. So, we're going to be in some serious debt. It is what it is. I appreciate all the donations tonight. It makes a big difference because we need every bit of help we can get. and I don't like to ask for help. I really don't. It makes me feel icky. But I'm grateful for all the kind words and the donations, big and small. I'm super grateful. Obviously, I'm luckier than a lot of people because I do have a community that can, like, put in some contributions like that. So many people out there don't have something like that. So don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful for a lot of the position that I'm in. I'm in a privileged position. But anyway, it's tough. No, next episode is about Wolverine, actually. Some Wolverine history. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be over 20. If you put a gun to my head and just said estimate like the total repairs and losses and stuff, I'll say $40,000. That's just a gun to my head, and I have to come up with a number, and we get 10,000 coverage. Not great. Not great. So it's tough. Chrissy and I are definitely super stressed out about it in a lot of ways, but we're there for each other, and I'm glad that we each have each other to sort of help. Chrissy's been doing a lot to help coordinate with some of these different departments because, I've got a job that I got to get to. I've got a day job. I can't be here every day. So that's rough. That's really rough. No, this video will not feature Sam Kieth art. I have done an episode about Sam Kieth. I would like to do that again, but right now I'm going to finish one about more the book Origin. Anyway. So anyway, don't worry. People are saying, am I going to try GoFundMe? I have to do this stuff really fast. I don't think I could get the funds from a GoFundMe fast enough. I think I have to take out a loan on the only thing we really own, which is our house. Well, which we are, of course, still financing, but I don't know. I'm open to ideas, but I have to figure this out fast. And I don't love the idea of asking somebody to pay for, some or all of it. I will gladly take donations because I'm not in a position to turn them down. I'm just not. So I'm very grateful. I really am. But I'm also not asking anybody to overextend themselves or try to cover the entire thing. That it's our problem. It frustrates me a little that they say, that it's all our fault for like the mechanical failure. I'm like, it was working and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And we started addressing it within, hours of the incident. I don't know. We couldn't have done a whole lot different. Yeah, that's true. I don't think I'll do it GoFundMe, just to be clear. I don't think I will. I just don't feel good about asking for that from people. So we'll see. Thank you. Stay up, dude. Love from Long Island. Appreciate that. That's really, really nice. Do a free consultation with an insurance specialist lawyer and see if there's a way to jack up your return. Saved a friend of mine $10,000 when a sewer line blew on her house. Oof, that sounds rough. Yeah, I might consider selling off a bunch of my comics and original art now that you say that. That might be a way to get some money. Sell some of my art. Maybe I should just sell like some of the original art that I own by guys like Brian Hitch or Frank Miller or something. Maybe I shouldn't. It's more important to have a home to live in than to have art that I love. It hurts, but maybe that's the way to go. It's not a bad idea. Ultimately, it's because it's just stuff. I'm not necessarily super attached to stuff. I like the stories and appreciating the art and the stories, but I don't necessarily have to hold on to them to feel like I'm a real fan of comics. I don't know. Here's something to keep Jack in capes. Isn't it amazing that Jack tried to warn us and help? I'm really impressed with the kitty. Oh, I think that would be, I'd have to pay people to watch if I started an OnlyFans. I would love to do commissions, but I also don't know if I've got time. It's like you make the time, right? But I think I'd make more just completing regular comic tropes episodes and keeping that revenue coming in than anything else. I appreciate the ideas and the suggestions a lot. I really do. because I don't necessarily have a fully baked plan here. I'm open to listening to ideas. So thank you. Thank you all. You guys are great. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, I'm not getting a lot right now. Tomorrow, I've got work in the morning. And I don't have like sick time or anything that I can really use up. Tomorrow, to keep this moving, the movers come so that we can actually get at the flooring and stuff. The people that will move just our boxes of stuff and our furniture, and they're willing to throw stuff out, which is good. So they can just throw out some of that furniture. And we've got a garage that we can move it into. So I don't think we should have to pay for storage, fortunately. But I do have a coffee. In fact, if you are watching this on YouTube, I've pinned it as a comment in the live chat. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, tomorrow there will be movers. That's probably going to be between $3,000 to $5,000 to do that part, and then the construction can begin, probably like the next day. Thanks. We'll see. To sell my comics, I'd need to do something like my friend West Coast Avengers does comic sales. If you don't know, good channel. But he, has set up this thing where people have already sort of shared their payment details, and I'd have to create sort of like a site like that, and I'd have to inventory what I have, which is right now completely disorganized. So it's work that I don't know if I've got time for. It might be something more like where I do it down the road to recover from what I've spent. So anyway, these are the things that I'm thinking about. But we'll see. It'll it's going to move fast, but it has to happen. The repairs and the this, that, and the other. My wife is doing an amazing job helping me. She really is. I couldn't do this alone. I don't know how some people can survive without a partner. I mean, I guess I did for a long time, but once you have one, you really become one unit, and it's very hard to find a way to do it without that person once you start relying on each other. Don't panic sale. It's the worst decision you could make. Maybe. Yeah. Hey, Chris, I stopped in to say I'm super sorry about the flood. Thank you. And I hope this helps in a small way. It does. It definitely does. Because it can only help. It can only help. Jack and Lily TikTok. Something tells me they wouldn't be well-behaved enough for that to go for too long. And that's what I've aimed for. So, I was saying that, so since tomorrow is the moving stuff around, most of the comics I had to take out of the boxes and stuff to protect them because the boxes were all getting waterlogged, but the comics could still be saved. I was fast enough for saving a lot of my collection, but it's just stacked up on a table, a big table that I've got down there right now. So this means that after I do this show tonight, fortunately, Chrissy recently she found like a great deal on Temu to get like short boxes. But I'm going to have to assemble a bunch of short boxes and just box up all my comics. It's going to take hours and hours of work. And I'm going to get that out of the way so that, everything else can be moved. It's crazy what's going to happen tonight. I'm going to be up real late, but I got to get up first thing in the morning for work. Thank you. Wow. Mickey Cassidy. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you let me know more, I have extras. Oh, if you need more, you mean of short boxes? I think I should have enough for that. I think I should have enough. I don't know if it was Temu, but it was something like that. She found a good deal, and I was like, "Yeah, short box is a short box. That's good." And my sister recently got me some cool plastic comic book boxes that I can protect stuff in. It might let me organize things down the road. Anyway, so that's tonight. I'll pivot to something else. I can pivot. Let's see. At least if the room is redone, and it's not just one room, it's several rooms, you can future-proof it against potential floods. Right. I think now we know that, we'll just put stuff on little risers, little plastic risers, most of the stuff, a lot of stuff was actually already, but now we can do that. Yeah. That's kind of you, but right now I don't really want to deal with that. Like, dealing with getting more stuff in, because I have to organize, and now I'm going to have sort of half the space that we've had, right? Because I've got to clear the entire ground floor of everything. So thank you, but I actually don't want anything else right now. You know what I'll probably do is there are warning like alarms that will go off when it senses water. So I should have had that, but that's what I'll get. Hope you spend some of that insurance money on more spinner racks. Keep them comics high and dry. I'll definitely be getting some risers. Thank you. That was a lot of talk about myself. Let me pivot. Before that happened, because I had a good half of my week before all that happened, I actually went out and saw 2 movies. Not in the same day, but I saw 2 movies. And one of them I have a strong recommend, and I'm not going to spoil anything because I think that's important. But folks, I strongly recommend Project Hail Mary. I suspected I would like it. It's by the guy that wrote The Martian with Matt Damon. Wrote the novel that each of those are based on, and I like that movie. And this has a similar thing of a scientist solving problems, which is very satisfying when it's done in a very clever, thoughtful way. I like seeing problem solving and seeing science used in that regard. I think, I dropped my phone. Ryan Gosling is a great lead. It's by Christopher Lord and Phil Miller, so it's got a good sense of humor. These guys are funny guys. But the humor isn't goofy or silly or jokes. It's just all natural, like character interaction. It's a really good movie, and it's doing well. And I think mostly from word of mouth. I won't tell you too much about it or really anything, because I think don't even watch the trailer if you can avoid it. Just trust me on this, that you going in blind, you will enjoy it more than getting a sense of what it is from the trailer. The trailer spoils a few things. There's almost no way around it, but it spoils a little bit the structure of the film as well as certain plot elements, okay? And I think that you'd go in blind to this and enjoy it if you like sci-fi, and to be clear, a little bit more of a hard sci-fi bent as compared to, supernatural or whimsical, actiony sci-fi. It's a little bit more like it's using, real science concepts. So if you like things like that, and if you like the sense of humor that you've seen in the Lego movies or some of Solo, obviously they left that movie, but the Spider-Verse movies, if you like some of that character-based humor, I think you will enjoy this. So strong recommendation, actually. Strong recommendation. What would that get? That would get 2.5 out of 3 thumbs. Almost 3 thumbs, which is the highest rating I give. 3 thumbs. And coincidentally, there actually is a thumb sort of joke in there, but I'm not going to talk about that. That is just my regular rating. I also saw, right after that, I saw... what's it called? It's not Now You See Me, Now You Don't. It's Ready or Not. Excuse me. Ready or Not 2. I like the first Ready or Not film with Samara Weaving, right? I think that's her name. And it's done by these 2 guys that have done... They did that. They did Abigail, if you saw that like a year ago. They did the 2 good Scream movies, 5 and 6. 5 is better, but 5 and 6 pretty good Scream movies, and one of the writer guys, Matt, I forget how to pronounce his last name. He was actually a roommate of Andy Samberg, really good friend of the Lonely Island guys. There's a fair question. What movies would I give 3 thumbs? The Godfather movies, Casablanca, Citizen Kane. Those are pretty standard. Drunken Master 2, Hard Boiled, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. That's the era. Empire Strikes Back. Mad Max Fury Road. These are some 3-thumb movies. Tell you what, if you hated The Martian, don't see Project Hail Mary. Loved it. Oh, Jaws is absolutely a 3-thumb movie. Moebius is a 1/2 thumb movie. Madam Web, ironically, is about a 1.5 thumb movie because it's entertainingly bad. Ready or Not 2 isn't as good as the first one. It has some things going for it. It's not a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. It's got some fun deaths. It's got some fun set pieces. Samara Weaving is very good. You know who's good in it? Sarah Michelle Gellar is a villain, but she's got some nuance to her. Sarah Michelle Gellar is really good in this. She looks fantastic, too. So I liked some things within it, but here's the thing. How do I say this without spoiling it? The end, I'll say this. The end of the first movie, if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the end it has like a catharsis to it. It's got a turn, a twist, and a reveal, and it's very cathartic because it happens just at the very end. And it's kind of funny, and it earned this thing. But now that changes the dynamic, and that just is what the dynamic is as the second one begins. And I don't think that world is as interesting to explore. It's okay. It's okay, but it's also only like a 1.5 to 2 thumb movie. It's at best. And that one, I'd say, worth watching on streaming for sure. It's not a bad movie. It's just not necessarily worth going out to the theater, paying the extra prices, and sitting through all those ads. If you go to see an AMC movie, AMC Theaters movie, they're going to play 4 ads for themselves. I like trailers, but 4 ads for themselves. It's like, I'm here. What are you doing? Like, first they talk about how, thank you for coming, and you could be an AMC Stubs members, blah, 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 blah. Then they have one for their concessions. Then they have one for their whatever theater you're in, whether it's IMAX or Laser or anything, or Dolby. They're going to talk about that. And then finally, Nicole Kidman comes on to tell you that movies are magical. And I'm like, enough. Especially if, like me, you go to movies somewhat regularly. It's maddening. It's so obnoxious. I'm like, who are you? Put that on TV or on a streaming service, but why are you telling me, the magic of IMAX? I'm here. Why is Nicole Kidman trying to sell me on seeing a movie? I'm here. It's so painful. So painful. Is there? Homer loses his shit at the ads. I considered a little bit doing an ad, because you can actually do an ad campaign like regionally for pretty affordable on maybe like say 10 to 100 movie theater screens for like a month or two, a couple $1,000. The frustrating thing though, Adam, is that I do kind of enjoy the trailers, and so they play the trailers, then they play 4 ads for AMC. Right? I don't know. Maybe I've got it backwards. Who cares? What are next? Bop, bop, bop. It's affordable. I looked it up just this week, and it is affordable to advertise in movie theaters, but not as many people go to the movies, unless it's a good movie, basically, or certain movies. You know what I think would be fun? I don't know if this is crazy. Should I hire like a skywriter during San Diego Comic-Con to just put like comic tropes across the sky? Or should I just hire a street team to be throwing out little postcards with a description of my show and a QR code? I don't know. Toho does ads a lot in Japan. I see the same ads. It's obnoxious too. And when it's anime, there are additional ads for merch. It's just stupid capitalism crap. That's my impression of Mike and then Rich Evans from Red Letter Media. I should do both. Well, I talk about it as it's fun. Clearly, I'm not doing that anytime soon. All the money's going to house repairs. But, oh, that's interesting. What was the worst experience? The taser or the hot chip? Definitely the hot chip. No question. The taser, it's just like a quick moment, and your body does recover for a minute. It could knock you down, but it's quick, and you recover pretty quick. The hot chip, you suffer for a while. Yeah, the hot chip is way worse. And I've seen some people handle the hot chip well, but I sincerely think that chips get, just by the production, I think that some of them get more of the hot dust than others. So I legit think that some of the chips are tougher for people to handle. Not that like some people can handle it like a champ. I think that like legit some of the chips are tougher than others. For TV stuff, I finished watching Starfleet Academy, which totally surprised me because I like Star Trek. I didn't think following Starfleet cadets would be that interesting. I like that show quite a bit. This week it was announced that, when season 2 finishes, that's it. I'm a little disappointed because it was a pretty good show, and they haven't really announced any other upcoming Star Trek show. So I think that their energy is going to be like, because there's a TV division of Star Trek and a movie division of Star Trek under the same parent company, but I don't think that they really like to compete too much. I think that the movie division has more power, and I think that they're ready to push some sort of a Star Trek movie. So they're probably telling TV, like, get out of the way. We don't want to like conflict with you, so just get out of the way. I think. We'll see. No, I haven't been able to watch Invincible. I'm way behind on that one. I'd love to catch up on Invincible at some point. That would be fun. A lot of my friends, like at work and stuff, like going like, "Oh, this is so good." I'm like, I know the story. I read the comics. I get it. I agree. It's really good. Oh, you know who you should look at on Instagram if you like the Invincible cartoon? My friend Nate Bellegarde. I think his handle on Instagram is Fetorps, Fetorpse, like some sort of portmanteau of fetal and corpse, right? I'm pretty sure. Fetorps. He does all the designs for background characters, and he's shared a lot of Invincible characters that you would have seen that aren't like the main supporting cast members, but can still have anything from a cameo to a background and stuff like that. And he's been sharing a lot of his designs and art on Instagram. Fetorpse, Fetorps. Nate Bellegarde. He's also drawn some comics, quite a few great comics. He's a great artist. I do call him, to his face sometimes, procrastinate, because he was always very slow with comics. But I think his sensibilities lie in design, and I think he's just a great addition to that team. So yeah, Nate is awesome. Yeah, they're doing at least one fully original episode to fit within and just to give something a little different. So yeah, you heard that Paramount wants to do a Trek movie with a new cast? Okay. Yeah. I think that they do want to. I've also watched the first few episodes of Monarch Season 2, which is co-written by Matt Fraction, co-run by Matt Fraction, comic book guy. Monarch is frustrating because it's set within the world of Kong and Godzilla, the American versions, and yet it gives you maybe like 5 to 10 minutes an hour of monster stuff at best, right? 5 to 10 minutes maybe. And the special effects are movie quality. They're incredible. But you mostly have to sit through a lot of annoying people characters. Here's the thing. Anybody who's been watching Godzilla like I have since I was a little kid knows that's what Godzilla is. A lot of the Godzilla movies are primarily annoying characters and then, about like 3 scenes of cool monster stuff. Going back to like, I'm talking like guy in a rubber suit. So I'm used to it. There are a few exceptional Godzilla movies. -1, Shin Godzilla, the original Godzilla. There's some exceptional ones. And there's some fun ones like Final Wars or Godzilla 2000, Godzilla Returns. There's some fun ones. But a lot of them, that's what you get. And so the TV show is not different in that regard. I find some of the characters very annoying. Very annoying. So far they haven't shown Godzilla at all. They've got some new monsters. We have seen Kong a little bit. Anyway. No, I never saw the anime. Sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Are you talking about the 3-part one where like it's set way in the future? You know what? I might have watched the first of the 3. I think I watched the first of the 3. I don't remember it super well. Oh yeah, Godzilla was in season 1. I'm talking about season 2 now. No, you know what's the best show that we're watching? We need to catch up on it, but we've been so busy the last few days. The Pit. And yeah, not comic booky, not sci-fi or action or anything, just a medical drama, but it's great. It's really, really rock solid. It moves at a great pace, has interesting characters, interesting medical drama stuff. Yeah, The Pit is really, really cool. It's consistently entertaining. It just moves at a great pace. So I do like that show a lot. Is there anything else I've been watching? Not really. I won't be watching any like DVDs or Blu-rays or playing any video games because that stuff's all set up downstairs. Yeah, I can't get caught up. Right, it's a medical drama. To be clear, it does have Dale Keown's Pit. That's why it's called that. I don't think that there's anything else. And then for comic tropes, just to keep people updated, and I've sort of hinted at some of this, but I'm working on an episode I can now edit now that I've rearranged everything. I was planning on having it out last weekend, but I think I can have it out this weekend about Wolverine. And then I might have to do like 1 or 2 that are more like sort of a story time type episode talking about various stuff. And then I'll finally get back to finding a way to set this up that it could be both a place where I can live stream and record. You'd be like, well, why can't you easily do both? It's because there's a tripod with like a really nice camera that normally goes like right here in the room. I don't like if I go behind this camera that's right here, there's maybe 1.5 to 2 feet before I hit the wall. So I can't put the camera behind that. And if I put it in front, I think it might be too close to me when I sit against that wall. So I don't know yet how I'm going to arrange it, but that's the challenge. I'll figure it out. We did talk about that a little bit earlier. Yeah, we did talk about that a little bit. I think that's really cool. I think Brian K. Vaughan's awesome. No, I guess I didn't talk about the trailer. I could talk a little bit about the Brand New Day trailer. So yeah, a trailer for the new Spider-Man movie came out, and some of it, like, overall, I think it was fun. Overall, I think it's a cool, looks fairly grounded take on Spider-Man, as in he's fighting villains that are, you know, his sort of street-level criminals with maybe a little bit of powers, but we're not talking anything too crazy. We're not talking multiverse stuff, I don't think. There's a lot going on in it. The thing I like the most, I'll say, in the trailer is that there are 3 specific shots of Spider-Man fighting villains that are very literal adaptations of comic book covers. There's one that's an adaptation of Amazing Fantasy 15 by Jack Kirby. Would love to say that it's by Steve Ditko. Jack Kirby did the original cover. There's a little of Ditko. Ditko did some inking and some design work, of course. Yeah, Spider-Man's first cover on Amazing Fantasy 15 is a Jack Kirby cover. But they replicated that. Not quite as colorful, but that's okay. It's okay. There's a cover of Tarantula. attacking Spider-Man. That's taken from it's that Amazing Fantasy 135 or something like that. I don't know, somewhere around there. And then also, like in the 300s, when Eric Larson was the artist, there's one of Boomerang, the villain Boomerang, throwing a boomerang at Spider-Man. So it's kind of cool to see Eric Larson. Who did the cover with Tarantula? The interior artist at that point, I think, was Ross Andrew, but the cover is almost definitely by John Romita. So yeah, I think John Romita did that cover, and that the one with Tarantula is almost the most loyal, except that they changed his costume, sort of modernized it or whatever. I predict that none of those will be. I bet that there'll be a montage. The way that they are all three in slow-mo and all referencing covers, I would guess that there's going to be a montage of Spider-Man fighting criminals, and we, the fans, are like, oh, it's Tarantula, oh, it's Boomerang, oh, there's Rhino. I don't know. I'm just making that one up. Thank you, Artistic Flavas. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. It does help. Was I right when I guessed 134? Yeah, leaping at Spidey on the ship. That if I'm right with 134, I'll consider that amazing, because that was a random guess. Yeah, it does look like Paul might be in the movie, because MJ is definitely dating someone. Yeah, I don't know. They could be doing, the six-armed Spider-Man. That would probably be a little too silly. I think that they are adapting some of the other, which I don't like as a comic. Maybe I'll make an episode about that. I don't like the other. I think it's pretty shitty. But we'll see. Hey, dude, love the show. Usually miss the live, but always look forward to catching the replay each week. Oh, I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And I know I've gone over 3 hours. I've got a little bit more to talk about tonight. Sending all the salutes. Double salute. By the way, next week I will have a guest on the show that I'm excited about. I'll let it be a surprise, but it will be fun. I promise. We're gonna start off with a quick interview with a guest guy I love, and that'll be fun. Yeah, the Spider-Man trailer. I like that it's showing all street level stuff. We've got Punisher. Yeah, we see Bruce Banner. I'm almost positive Savage Hulk will emerge. I mean, you can see that he's got on his wrist that like gamma device that he created that was referenced in She-Hulk, which allows him to be Bruce Banner. And I think they only put it in there to let She-Hulk have her proper origin story with Bruce Banner blood transfusion thing, as well as make the end credits of Shang-Chi make sense, because it's like, wait, why are we seeing Bruce Banner instead of Smart Hulk? They didn't explain any of that. But I think that Savage Hulk will be in there. There's a part of me that thinks there's certainly room to put in Daredevil on some level. And some people have speculated that there's like a shot or two that look like it, just like the last trailer, could have other characters in it that they just, have digitally erased for the trailers. I feel like it would be very weird not to have at least a cameo by Daredevil, since it's pretty clear that audiences want it. I think Marvel knows that too. I mean, they did put a cameo of Matt Murdock in the last movie, and clearly with the show, they're even teasing us. If you remember, the finale of season 1 of Born Again plays the Spider-Man theme music for a second or two, the movie theme music. So it's like, come on, they know what they're doing. I hope that they put him in for at least a little bit. I think that that's something people like. Let's see. A lot of people saying they think Sadie Sink is Jean Grey. I think that's a very likely possibility. Very, very likely. But I don't think in the trailer what we're seeing, it doesn't look like her form of telepathy, but we're seeing something to do with like mentally controlling people. I think that Mr. Negative is probably in the movie on some level. Is he the big bad? Is he just a crime boss? I don't know. But I think Mr. Negative could be in the movie and like maybe have some sort of mind control powers. It's pretty Here's, hold on. Somebody is sort of like trying to hijack the live chat. Let me I come out. I don't know. I'd like Mr. Negative and I'd like Daredevil, so I might be projecting there. I might be projecting. I'm not telling you what is going to be in the movie. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I think we did it at the same time, so we're good. Golden Age Daredevil should show up. Right, the Hand is specifically in the trailer. I mean, yeah, we don't have to have Daredevil there, but it would be a little weird to use his main villains. Ah, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Comment. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, it looked like a fun trailer. Here's what gives. I said this a little earlier when I started the news. The director, Daniel Destin Cretton. I liked Shang-Chi that he did. I liked Wonder Man that he did. They are doing, season 2 of Wonder Man. He directed this Spider-Man movie. That alone encourages me. It might have too much going on. There's a lot of characters, but we'll see how it balances. Some of them, that's the fun parts when Marvel does it right, is they put in these characters that we love, get a name actor. They might only be in it for 5 to 10 minutes, but it adds to the story. It's fun to have those characters in there. Yeah, the kangaroo. Oh, remember how weird the adaptation was in the Spider-Man manga that I shared with all of you? Yeah, over on Comic Tropes? That was weird. They adapted the kangaroo. I like that twist. I like that twist. You definitely hear Keith David. Here's the thing. In the trailer, you hear Keith David, and he's talking about spiders. Oh, the life cycle of the spider is such that blah blah. I think that might just be something more like somebody goes to a museum or a science lab, and Keith David did a voiceover for like a video there, and they're using it in the trailer. I don't think he plays a character, but that's me. That's just the vibe I get. Yeah, I like the way that Spider-Man is a melodrama soap opera a lot of the time. It's fun that like you could have an issue where Punisher is on it for like 2 pages because he's either coming next issue or he was in the previous issue, and you've got like him fighting 2 different villains. One he fights and then he gets a cold, and then the next guy pops up. Yeah. It's a Spawn crossover. Let's see. Spider-Man brand new trailer is the most watched trailer of all time. I had no idea. 718.6. Let's remember the 0.6 million views in the first 24 hours. That definitely is a lot. Well, that shows a lot of interest. They've got a good thing going. I like this change of pace. During your time patrolling as a costumed hero, Omega. Did you ever run across a masked bad person? No. There was one guy that made videos like as sort of a pretend supervillain called Rex Velvet, specifically targeting Phoenix, but he wasn't actually trying to do bad. I'm trying to remember. I think that there was, just before I joined them, there was one guy who was calling himself a supervillain, and he was throwing around piss-filled balloons. So that's the most sort of a masked supervillain. Mostly those heroes that were masked were crazy enough, Andy. There was one guy that we were going up against some guys that were drug dealers on First Ave down in going up against. We were telling them to move on. So stupid. Because they were probably armed. Stupid. But anyway, we were telling them to move on. One of them like pulled a gun. What am I talking about? Yeah, he pulled a gun. Didn't shoot at us, but we all sort of like ducked behind a car. And then one of the guys stepped out, and Phoenix was yelling at him. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I can create a force field." That was the first and only time he went out with us. Crazy. We left. Yeah, if you watch the ESPN documentary about Phoenix Jones, it's only about 30 minutes. It should be on YouTube still. I was Omega, and that was like towards the. I'm in it, both interviewed and footage on the street, but that was like towards the very end of my career, and I don't come across looking like I'm in shape because I had changed to a very bulky uniform. It's not flattering at all. It's in retrospect. I started with a look that I probably should have stayed with. I had a motorcycle jacket with like armored plates, and then I sort of added some color and stuff. But yeah. I've got so many crazy stories from it was just a year. I patrolled with them for a year, so my superhero year. And someday I probably will make a comic about it. I don't really want to draw it myself. I'm too slow. But if I ever found an artist that was like, I want to do it, I'd be like, yeah, let's put it out there. It would be popular, I think. I think people, even if I did it as like a crowdfunded book and just advertised it to, you folks and my main channel and my Patreons, I think that would probably do all right. So someday I might tell just some of the crazy stories of what we went through. And some of the mistakes I made, like the time we went along, on May 1st here in Seattle, there's a parade for, what is it? It's like union workers or working class. I forget what the name of it is. But there's a lot of white supremacist groups in the Pacific Northwest, and they always go and sort of dress as anarchists and try to cause trouble. They always do towards the end. So we were like marching alongside in and out of these parades just because stuff would crop up. And I marched in boots. I wore boots most of the time because when we'd be walking around the city at night, you go across a lot of areas that have like glass, nails, and syringes. You don't want to risk getting punctured, but I should have been wearing sneakers. Oh, my feet were so messed up after that. Stupid. Little things you don't think of. Just some of the funny stories of like certain times trying out different pieces of like armor for your look and realizing that they don't work well. By the way, I'll tell you this, as somebody that like eventually moved over to wearing like a luchador mask because it was a little easier to like breathe and see out of and everything. But when it was pouring rain, you started to feel like you were getting waterboarded. And I go, Spider-Man has been tossed into like, the Hudson River a million times. He would just like his body would seize up. He'd think he'd be being waterboarded. He would die. It's crazy. Yeah, Labor Day. It's because the eastern part of the state in Idaho is full of, Shitler wannabes with daddy issues. It's strange. It's so strange. Like Seattle is, and some of the cities around here, definitely liberal, but there is some really rednecky elements in the Pacific Northwest. And of that, like some really crazy right-wing assholes. Just awful. Anyway. I don't know why there are. When Chrissy and I lived in Tacoma, every once in a while, like the Proud Boys would just do this like thing where they were like putting up all these hateful flyers, like, with like really offensive slurs for various minorities or gay people and stuff like that. And they would like use this really awful paste that would just glue it right onto all the street lamps and the walls. And we would go around pulling them down. It took quite a while. And they'd advertise who they were. So when I say it was the Proud Boys, it was, the Proud Boys, and they had some other things, crazy stuff. Anyway, I've talked a lot, haven't I? Didn't expect to talk that much about myself. Maybe a little bit about the flood stuff. Thanks for listening to me. Thank you for the super chats. They're very much appreciated. If you want to support me on a more modest way that could like benefit you, just consider joining my Patreon if you haven't. For like, the cost of less than one comic book a month, you'd be supporting the show and you'd be getting access sometimes to early or exclusive episodes. As much as I can do, I try to give something to the patrons. So just consider that. But if you're not in a position, I'm not going to take offense. Okay, don't worry about it. No, it was a crazy time. I can do plenty of good without wearing the costume. I can do plenty of good just as myself. I'll still do like stuff for like the homeless. And if I ever see a fight in public, I now don't hesitate to jump into it. And maybe that's dangerous or not the right thing to do, but I don't hesitate to break up a fight, or if somebody has fallen down or been hit by a car, weird things like that, I'll jump in to help. Whereas a lot of people will still pause to see if somebody else will go first. I would say that the only good thing from that is it conditioned me to just react real fast and just try to do the right thing, even if it's not smart. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, Mod. Good to see you. Mod, by the way, partner of Tyler Crook, and has a webcomic that didn't you just submit to the Ringo Awards for consideration? What's your webcomic, Mod? I'm bad at names. I forget. If you get this, feel free to reply, because I'm going to answer this other question. What's the next trash movie bonanza? Don't know. Jim is doing Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City this weekend. So probably because of like my repairs right now and him getting ready for that convention, I don't think we can record this week, but maybe next week. Okay. Maybe next week. Here's something fun. Somebody that Jim knows, really popular YouTuber, Papa Meat. If you've ever watched Papa Meat videos, over 3 million subscribers. I think he's very funny. In his latest video, he was talking about a bunch of bad Kickstarters, but he did mention, hey, sometimes there are good Kickstarters for comics. And he specifically shouted out Jim Mafood and some other artists, and showed like some of the pages of Jim's Defective Comics, which I thought was nice. They're both going to be at Planet Comic-Con, and I told Jim, hey, why don't you invite him? We've had guests before. We've had Rob Schraub, we've had Daniel Warren Johnson, we've had Jorge Corona and Morgan Beam. We every once in a while we'll have a guest. I was like, why don't you invite Papa Meat to sit in with us? I think that would be really fun. So we'll see. Oh yeah. Honestly, if there's just about any documentary about Phoenix, because there are some small ones out there, a lot of times I am in there. Or you could just look up Omega, and sometimes you'll find me. And if you watch my episode on Comic Tropes, I've got some video footage mixed in. So yeah. Matt highlighted a really cool Kickstarter. Okay, I don't know what that is. Yeah, it was really cool to see Jim get like a plug on such a big platform. I was happy for him. So yeah. Anyway, all right. You guys are the best. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for the funny comments and for the super chats. I appreciate the support. I will see you next week here. And in the meantime, I'm going to work on my job, getting the house repaired, and finishing this edit so that by this coming weekend, you have a new Comic Tropes. Thanks, everybody. Tell you what, double salute. And while you watch the closing credits, why don't you remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Ma. Thank you, all of you. Thanks, Dr. Schubel. Bye-bye, everybody.